Of the House today to welcome the new designated Chief Whip of the opposition, the MK Party, Ms. T.C. Makubele. Order. Order. Honorable members, can we be in order? I will now order. Honorable members, there is only one item on the agenda. That was a welcome, not an agenda item. I think in future, for all the parties, I will just request that when there is such changes, they just wait for 1 day so that I can be both speaker and a chief whip. I'm sure when that happens, no one will have a debate on that matter. Honorable Skosana, what is it?
No, thank you. Thanks for congratulating our new chief whip. And I'm going to congratulate the maiden speech from Dr. Korenov today. Thank you.
You are very naughty and out of order. There is no maiden speech of Honorable Korenov in this house. There is only one item on the order paper, which is the questions addressed to the president. There are 4 supplementary questions on each question. Parties have given an indication of which questions their members wish to pose as supplementary questions, but also members has indicated some of them where there are other members who will be taking the question on behalf of the main member who had asked the question. Adequate notice was given to all parties for this purpose. This was done to facilitate participation of members who are connecting to the sitting through the virtual platform. The members who will pose supplementary questions will be recognized by the presiding officers. In allocating opportunities for supplementary questions, the principle of fairness, among others, have been applied. If a member who is supposed to ask a supplementary question through the virtual platform is unable to do so due to technical difficulties, the party whip on duty will be allowed to ask the question on behalf of their member. When all the supplementary questions have been answered by the president, we will proceed to the next question on the order paper. The first question has been asked by Honorable M. Dooley. The question is given, it's that the global transition from greenhouse gas emissions to renewable energy presents an opportunity to the Republic as a mineral-rich country to better leverage its resources. What concrete steps will be taken by government to reform resource taxation in line with the World Bank report that government only captures about 40% of revenue that it can potentially collect from natural resources? Honorable Mr. President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, honorable members. Any company that extracts a mineral resource in our country is required to pay the South African government a mineral royalty. This is because mineral resources are finite and cannot be replaced. So it is therefore important that a tax or a royalty should be levied. While it is always good to review existing policies against national priorities, there is no intention at this stage to reform the current mineral royalty regime as it is seen to work. The honorable member raises the issue of resource rent taxes. Such taxes aim to ensure that companies extracting minerals pay a larger share of their profits to government whenever profits are high. And this is a relevant issue. South Africa's mineral royalty regime incorporates an element of the principle underlying resource tax rents. And this royalty rate is applied to the sales value of a mineral and is determined by a formula that varies to profitability as well as to whether the mineral has been refined or unrefined. When a mineral is refined, more taxation is paid. There is a minimum rate to ensure that even if profitability is low, the country is still reimbursed for extra resources that are extracted. In this way, government collects more corporate tax revenue and mineral revenue, royalty revenue rather, as well as other taxes. During the commodity booms, this leads to a higher level of taxation. Statistics from the South African Revenue Service show that mineral royalties doubled from 14.2 billion to 28.5 billion between 2020/2021 and 2022/2022. And this was largely driven by the commodity boom that we experienced. They remained elevated in the year 2022/2023 before dropping to almost 16 billion rand in 2023 and 2024, indicating that companies were not during that period as possible as they were the year before. In addition to the payment of mineral royalties, mining companies, like other companies, contribute to national revenue through payment of corporate taxes, that is income tax. They also contribute through capital gains tax whenever they dispose of either their assets or even their mineral rights as well. And they also, of course, pay their VAT and other related taxes that have to do with the employment of people that work for the company. So mining companies also make contributions in a variety of other ways, particularly through their various local taxes or local contribution with regard to their local development plans. In the past financial year, the mining industry paid 14% of all corporate taxes in South Africa. Earlier this month, Cabinet adopted a critical mineral strategy for our country, which places a sharper focus on domestic mineral value addition. The strategy itself aims to maximize our country's potential, particularly in the global market for critical minerals, and particularly in those countries, in our country's just energy transition, and the ones for which the country holds competitive or comparative advantage. Now, this strategy aims to ensure that South Africa derives greater benefits from its mineral wealth through beneficiation, through localization, and from the employment of the people who work for those companies. So we do have a regime of taxation that is broad, that is quite diverse, that enables us to extract as much taxation as we possibly can from various mineral activities, and also ranging from commodity to commodity, as well as whether value has been added or there's been refinement or hasn't been refinement. So that in itself presents a fairly robust and forward-looking taxation process, which the cabinet has also enhanced, particularly when looking at the critical minerals strategy that we have adopted. Thank you, Speaker.
Siyabonga Mongameli, umbuzo lo isichibiyelo uzawukwenziwa ngu-Honorable Dlakude emele umnumzane uNtuli.
Ngiyabonga Mengameli kule mpendulo yakho losinikete yona kulendlo. Futhi siyakubonga ukuthi nahulumende uyazuza kulama royalties latholakalako ngaletimbiwa lesinato. Kepha siyakholelwa ekutheni Mongameli kuningi lokhu uhulumende la ngasakwenda ekuthenini live lizuze nibantu baseningizimu Afrika lizuze ekuthuthukiseni umnotho walelive. Mongameli kuletimbiwa letimbiwako kunaleto siyabona ukuthi kubekela embili ekuthenini kunenshisakalelo yokuthi titholakale letimbiwa letisetshenziswa ekwakheni bomakhalekhikhini naleti moto tagezi lesitibonako letikhona kanye futhi nema-computer lawa endiwako lama-computer. Ngabe ngutiphi taba leti hulumende la tawutenda ekutheni kuthuthukise umnotho waseningizimu Afrika futhi nokuthi leto timbiwa letinzuzo letitholakalako tibuya futhi tilekelele uhulumende ekutheni athuthukise umnotho walelive nekuthi futhi kukhuliswe lowo mnotho walelive. Ngiyabonga Somlomo.
Ngiyabonga Mongameli.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. For us to extract more value out of our minerals, particularly from our critical minerals, it is important that we do focus on the strategy that we've already put in place, that of adding value to our minerals, of beneficiation, and to a large extent of localization as well. To ensure that beneficiation or adding value happens as close as possible to where our minerals are extracted, so that the people who are in the vicinity of where extraction takes place benefit, and they see themselves benefiting from the whole value chain that is involved in mineral extraction. We're pleased to say that this approach and strategy has become broadly accepted, it having been propagated a few years ago and having been spread around by various government leaders and by various organizations in our country. The message has been sinking. And we say this because even our counterparts in other parts of the world now do believe that where there are minerals that need to be extracted, it should not be a case of just carting rock, sand, and dust out of those areas to their own markets. And a number of them do now appreciate that there should be value addition where the minerals are extracted. So when it comes to those critical minerals, we believe that the benefit that will go to the people in the local areas and indeed to the country is quite phenomenal. As they who buy our minerals gain financially and through other interests, we should also be able to gain as much as possible because we are the owners of the minerals. Zithemba ukuthi sitayenza njalo ukuthi ive lethu likwazi ukuthi lithole intuthuko ukuya phambili uma singayenza zonke lezi zinto okhuluma ngayo. Ngiyabonga.
Siyabonga Mongameli. Umbuzo wethu ozolandela uzobuzwa lunga lehloniphekile Mnumzane Uzondi.
Ngibonge, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, there seems to be a misunderstanding of the World Bank report that gave this figure of 40%. The figure is a combined figure from all Southern African countries, not just South Africa, and obviously it differs from country to country. More importantly, the same World Bank report that says governments could improve their revenues by adopting better policies, implementing reforms, and promoting good governance. The new Mineral Resources Development Bill gives considerable powers of discretion to ministers. We know that discretionary powers instead of rules that are specifically prescribed in legislation amount to legislative uncertainty, which in turn amounts to bad governance, which is one of the major disincentives to investment. Will the president commit to reducing ministerial discretion where he's able to, and rather commit only to signing bills that will actually increase investments and jobs? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yabonga, Mongameli.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Order, Honorable President, there is a point of order. Honorable Mente, what is your point of order?
Thank you very much, Speaker. There are members on the platform that are waiting to be accepted. Since we started, they are still waiting on the lobby.
Thank you. Can our IT please ensure that we allow all members on the platform? Thank you, Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Zondi is absolutely right. The World Bank report is not specific to South Africa. It seeks to address the situation as it prevails in the rest of our continent and specifically in sub-Saharan Africa or Southern Africa. So we are sort of clubbed together with others, but our tax regime is quite unique and slightly different as well. But having said that, we should know that when the minister acts, ministers always and often act in consultation with their other colleagues. And there's this notion that ministers sometimes act like wild cards. They act of their own whim. Much of what is embedded in our legislation giving powers or certain discretions to ministers was done by this parliament to empower ministers to take certain actions to enable processes of development to speed up and to move very quickly. So when ministers do act, they act in a representative capacity. They act in consultation with other colleagues in cabinet, and they don't act as rogue sole actors. So that needs to be put in context. And we must always believe that when ministers act, they act and seek to act in the interests of the people because they have been elected by the people. Like all of us who are here, when we do act, it is assumed that we are acting in the interests of our people as we were elected by those people to represent them and to take certain actions that will advance their interests. So I want to disabuse us of this notion that when ministers have a discretion, they will use the discretion to ends that will not benefit the people as a whole. And I think the default response or approach should always be they are acting in accordance with the law and also to advance the interests of our people until proven otherwise. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Enkosi Mongameli, ngoku ndizawucela ilunga lethu elihloniphekile libeke umbuzo walo oyisichibiyelo esithathu. Honorable Zibi.
Yabulela, Madam Speaker. Mr. President, provincial and municipal road infrastructure takes a beating from heavy vehicles that service the mining industry. There are also collateral impacts on the environment at municipal and provincial level. Would the government consider ring fencing some of the royalties revenue to be allocated to municipalities and provinces which have to deal with this burden in a way that other provinces do not have to. Thank you.
Mongameli.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Quite a novel idea, Honorable Zibi. I found that you're always full of ideas. Quite a novel idea. However, I do think that when Treasury and through the budget process allocates or makes allocations for towards local government and towards municipalities, they do take some of those issues into account. And when they make those allocations, I'm sure they will have made calculations about the burden that some of our local municipalities as well as provinces bear. However, the real answer is removing mining haulage from the road onto rail, because that should be our objective, because getting the rocks and the sand and soil that is mined out of our mines to where they should be processed should really be on rail rather than on the road, because rail is much more of a sustainable form of transport, and we should be returning all those goods to rail. The Premier of Northern Cape has raised this repeatedly and has actually demonstrated how the roads leading from Khartoum all the way to the sea become damaged on a repeated basis because of the haulage that is exerting too much pressure on their roads. So that is a matter that through Transnet, we're looking at, and the reforms that Minister Creasy is engendering are aimed at ensuring that we strengthen Transnet, we're able to get Transnet to be able to repair and recalibrate its rail capacity so that we can haul more and more of the goods to where processing should happen and ultimately to where exports can happen for those goods. So much as your point is a good one and innovative, but I think the real answer is taking the haulage from wherever onto rail to where it should be going to rather than on our roads. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable L.W. Mahlatsi.
Thank you, Speaker. President, greetings. With the World Bank highlighting that Southern Africa collects only 40% of its potential mining revenue, and considering the proposed implementation of a resource rent tax, what concrete, auditable mechanism and ring fencing measures will be put in place to ensure that these additional funds are clearly directed towards uplifting impoverished rural communities through improved public services and infrastructure, rather than being diverted through corruption or elite networks?
The President.
The assurance we should get from the better utilization of the funds or the revenue is really what we are about in terms of the priorities that we have set out for ourselves as a government of national unity. Our third key priority is to ensure that we have a capable state. We strengthen the arms of the state to be able to collect revenue. And to this end, SARS stands us in good stead. And with a further allocation of funding to SARS, SARS will be able to collect more, but the utilization thereof is then a responsibility, yes, of Treasury, but further than that, it is the various other divisions of government, be it at provincial level, be it at local government level, where the funding that SARS will have collected and allocated by Treasury should be utilized in a proper manner to avoid, yes, corruption, to avoid wasteful expenditure, and to ensure that in the end, we do provide the services that our people need with the funding that will have been collected or extracted through taxes from the various economic players, be they mining companies or others. So the increasing and improving the capability of the state is precisely what we are focusing on. And we've also decided that through our Vulindlela process, we're going to focus on strengthening local government and making sure that local government functions better. A minister who is in charge of cooperative governance, Minister Sabisa, is in the process of working out precise legislative architecture that is going to help us to strengthen local government and to ensure that we are able to have the type of local government that will look after the resources that will have been brought through from the revenue, through the allocations by Treasury, right to the places where execution takes place. So it is through strengthening government, and that is a key priority that we are focusing on. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to remind our members on the virtual platform to please name the gadgets that they're using so that the staff of Parliament would know who they are. Mr. President, the second question has been asked by Honorable M.V. Daniels. The question is about the specific legal and/or statutory provisions that the government relies on when it classifies the Khoisan San, colored, Indian, and white South Africans as not being African in particular after more than 3 decades of democracy. Honorable the President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker and honorable members. We worked from the starting point that every South African is by definition an African. We are all equally of the African continent. And as declared in various iconic documents, like the Freedom Charter, South Africa belongs to all who live in it. Just as we are all equally South African, we have an equal claim to this country. As we work to overcome the racial and other divisions of the past, we have put in place what I would call legislation and other measures to redress the effects of discriminatory laws and practices and conventions that used to take place in this country. We've introduced legislation in areas such as land reform, employment equity, and economic empowerment. If we are to affirm and advance the position of people who were previously disadvantaged and who were previously held back, we need to use for this purpose alone the terms associated with our apartheid past. And not only is the use of such terms necessary to redress, it is also necessary to gauge the progress that we are making to reduce the stark differences in the material conditions between different population groups in our country. Finding terms that are accepted by all South Africans is not straightforward as we would imagine. And there is bound to be debate about what is most appropriate and most acceptable. The broad-based Black Economic Empowerment Act, for example, defines Black people in the context of the Act as a generic term of Africans, coloreds, and Indians. In the census and other statistical reports, Stats SA uses the terminology Black African, colored, Indian stroke, Asian, and white. The use of race-based terminology will always be difficult for our country, like ours, for a country like ours, to accept as we work to put behind the racial injustices of the past. However, until we have reached our goal of equality for all people in our country, there will be circumstances when we need to use such terminology. Our responsibility is to ensure that our use of such terms ultimately makes the differences they refer to less and less important until they are rendered meaningless and no longer serve any purpose. We are, as you would say, on a journey to moving away from the shadow of our horrible past. Our horrible past, which defined us as separate groups and separate entities. What is important for us is to see ourselves as South Africans and to see ourselves first and foremost as Africans, because it is this definition of being Africans that constitutes our being. We are African, first and foremost, and the rest has been utilized as a definition or description to divide us. And we therefore need to rid ourselves over time of those divisions. And I do think that we are on the journey towards doing that. It will take us time, but we are definitely on a journey. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. The supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Peterson on behalf of Honorable Daniels.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable President, has there been any impact assessments conducted to understand how this current classification system affects social cohesion and access to socio-economic opportunities among these groups? If so, what measures are being taken to address any disparities identified in such assessments? Thank you.
Mr. President.
My apologies, Honorable Speaker. I was trying to locate where the Honorable Speaker was.
Okay. The Honorable Speaker is next to
yes.
Honorable Sabisa.
So in the course of trying to see whether she was online, I should never say I have listened.
I can ask her, Mr.
Yes,
President, to repeat the question.
If you could, yeah.
Thank you.
And it has nothing to do with her height.
No, it does, President, then it's fine. Honorable President, has there been any impact assessments conducted to understand how the current classification system affects social cohesion and access to socio-economic opportunities among these groups? If so, what measures are being taken to address any disparities identified in such assessments? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable President.
I'm not aware of any specific assessment that has been done. And to the extent that assessment has been done, it's been broadly generalized to deal with people who are disadvantaged by the apartheid system, to measure the extent to which there has been progress. And a number of institutions have voiced their own disappointment about progress that has not been made. For instance, I know that the Black Economic Empowerment Commission and has often said that there hasn't really been movement on equity, employment equity, and they've looked at, for instance, the number of Black people in the broad sense who occupy key either managerial positions. And I know, for instance, bodies such as the Black Business Council have also always complained that there aren't enough Black people in the ownership ranks of the companies that are in our country, either listed on the stock exchange or whatever. So there have been those types of assessments. And of course, the lesser performance that we see does affect social cohesion because it engenders a sense that we are not really moving. with regard to ensuring that there is equality, and we are adhering to the dictates of our constitution to ensure that there is equality. So for us to engender social cohesion, to make sure that South Africans have a sense of belonging and a sense of ownership, we need to do much more in terms of getting those who were previously disadvantaged to get into ownership positions, to managerial positions. And the other level of inequality is how the women of our country have been relegated to the back. So that too is an important aspect of this whole process. We should not just only look at it as the race issue, but we should look at the gender issue, because patriarchy is still prevalent in our country, and much of the struggle was also about ridding our country of patriarchy as it was of ridding our country of racism. Thank you, Honorable Member.
Thank you. The next supplementary question will be asked by Honorable M.L. Lekganyane.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Motlhompe Morena President, madume ke makhura ba tlotla. Na ke magato a mafe a mmuso wa rena wa democracy o ka tšeago go tšwetša pele morero wa go aga Afrika Borwa ya botee yeo e kopanego, yeo e hlathilwego ka gare ga lengwalo la Freedom Charter le molaotheo wa rena wa naga ya Afrika Borwa. Kudu ka ge nakong yeo re phelago mo go yona re bona boganka bja bonationale le mekgwanakgwana ya semorafe le kgethologanyo ya bong le tše dingwe. Ke a leboga.
Ke a leboga, Honorable Member. Mhloniphe President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The government continues to take steps to ensure that those who were previously disadvantaged are given opportunities to play their role in the economy of the country, not only in social matters or political matters, but also in the economy of the country. And it is really in the economy where the incidents of exclusion, incidents of racism are most felt, because it is in the economic sector where ownership was denied to Black people. It is in the economic sector where control and management of the economic resources of our country were most felt by Black people, those who were previously disadvantaged. And it is for this reason that the government is focusing through legislative means, through various executive acts, on ensuring that, yes, those who were previously disadvantaged are empowered and are given opportunities to play an important role in the economy of their own country, as they do play in the political sphere. So many steps and various steps are taken to ensure that, yes, we do live up to the aspirations that were set up, as you say, in the Freedom Charter. Megato e mentši e tšewang ke mmušo go etsetsa gore bao ba ne ba tshwaretswe kwa morago ba hwetše the opportunities mo ba ka kgonang gore ba kgone go tsenella. Gagologolo kudu batho ba bantsho ba tshwanang le rena gore re kgone go ba le tswelopele. And so ke di-program tse dintši ba bang ge ba di lwantšha di-program tseo a ba di rate ka gobane ba nagana gore go shebilwe batho ba itseng fela. Epša ha ba lebelela bona gore ba eme kae, a ba ipone gore bona ba tlisitswe mo ba leng teng ka baka la melao ele ya kgale ya apartheid. Yaanong le rena re nyaka gore batho ba rena ba kgone go tswela pele ka tsela e bonagalang, ba kgone go ba le menyetla, ba kgone go ba le di-opportunities tse botse gore go be le tswelopele e bonagalang. Ha re sa etse bjalo, go tlo ba le mathata a mantši mo South Africa. Gore re ska ba le mathata a mantši, re tshwanetse gore re nke magato ona ao go etsetsa gore re bule menyetla gore batho ba batsho ba kgone go kena, ba šome, ba kene mo economy ya lefatshe le. Ka bane lefatshe le je ka Freedom Charter e boletse, ke lefatshe la rena ka moka, a se lefatshe la batho ba bang ba banyane fela e hlile ba basweu, ke la rena ka moka na rena. Tama.
Thank you, Mr. President. Honorable Douglas.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. President, on what legal or moral basis does your government, in its language and policies, continue to classify colored, Khoisan, San, Indian, and other non-Nguni and African-speaking minority communities as not African in particular, despite their deep historical roots in this land? Will you admit, Mr. President, this is exclusionary and that this policy amounts to constitutional discrimination? And will you commit to ending all exclusionary language and policies by recognizing all oppressed peoples in government and constitutional definitions, including recognizing the Khoisan San as South Africa's Aboriginal people, along with all oppressed peoples regardless of race, whether colored, Indian, or other communities, as full indigenous Africans in both status and benefit under the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, which we signed in 2017? If not, why not? If so, when will you make this declaration? Thank you.
Honorable President.
Thank you. I see Honorable Douglas was reading continuously without remembering what I said at the beginning. Because if he had paid attention to what I said, I did say, Honorable Douglas, that yes, it is most unfortunate that the classifications that we inherited from apartheid have tended to continue. And our clear intent is that we should see those classifications of our people withering away. Because we are all Africans. We are all South Africans. There should never be a sense that there's any group that is more special than any other. We are all equal. And that is precisely what our Constitution dictates and declares. So as we move forward, as I said in my initial reply, as we move forward, our objective is to consolidate the unity of our people as one people, as Africans, because that's what we are, as South Africans, properly endowed with an identity of being who we are. And this government has no intention, no program that identifies one group over any other. It does, however, say those who were previously disadvantaged. As our Constitution says, in the Equality Clause, our Constitution is quite clear and explicit that measures need to be taken to bring about equality, to redress the imbalances of the past. So in our quest to redress the inequalities of the past, yes, measures will be taken, legislative and otherwise, to make sure that we show up and bring up those who were previously disadvantaged. And they include all those that you mentioned, all those, as you said, previously oppressed people. That is our objective. And I'm happy to repeat what I said to you or to this House earlier, to yourself, when we are one-on-one, because I'll repeat it more clearly. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Reverend K.R.J. Mishra.
Thank you, Chairperson. Mr. President, I hate you well. But it is not correct that after 30 years of democracy, you still have on paper a racial classification, because it makes those who know they're African, as you just said, but they're not treated as Africans. Maybe because they're not dark enough, This has to be corrected. You cannot tell me, Mr. President, that you are not smart enough to can come with another idea rather than race classification. I understand that there is a challenge, there is a problem that has to be addressed, and government is trying to use that. But are you saying to me that the apartheid people, the apartheid government was more intelligent than you? That they came up with that racial classification. You have to repeat what they said because you don't have another idea. So I'm pleading with you. You are smart, we know that. Come with
Order,
another
Honorable
idea
Member, your time
rather than
is up.
racial classification. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Reverend Misha. Hey, what I want from Pamamuta. Well, I'm smart. Ke a leboha. No, as I did say, Honorable Misha, that yes, we are still dogged by the classification of the past. And as it is to rid ourselves of that form of classification, we do need to take steps to say this group and that group and that group were previously disadvantaged. And we therefore have to take steps to ensure that they are put in a better position when it comes to a whole range of areas, ownership, employment, and so forth. Because if we don't do that, then it basically means that we are accepting that everything is equalized when we know very well that it isn't. And there are those who would say that, you know, you should no longer talk about what happened in the past. Forget what happened in the past, we must move on. I distinctly remember a British diplomat who said he lived in the US for 22 years. When I was on the state visit to the UK, he was an ambassador, part of the team that was chaperoning us. And he said, Mr. President, I understand the history of your country. He says, I lived in the US. I can still see more than 100 years later, I can still see the effects of slavery. And it is therefore, he said, important that, yes, even the US government needs to take steps to make sure that it rids the United States of the effects of slavery. Because he says, I lived there for 22 years and I could see it every day. So those who would say, forget about apartheid, it was a bad dream. Let's now all be united and move forward. In my view, it is like putting Band-Aid on a deep sore. That sore does need to be lanced. It needs to be properly repaired, and to repair it, you need to go to the depth of it and be able to do major repair work. And to do major repair work, you've got to name everything for what it is. Because unless you do so, we will never be able to rid our country of the legacy of the past. So that's what we need to do. So we therefore need to embark on programs. We therefore need to make sure that we rid our country of these classifications, in the end, to see ourselves as South Africans and as Africans, less so as being colored, Indian or whatever, but just evolve a common identity. We can only do so by dealing with what caused the problem. Thank you.
Thank you. We now move to the third question that has been asked by Honorable G. Michalakis. The question is about whether the president intends putting in place measures to shield South Africans from high cost of basic necessities in light of the increase of cost of the average household food basket by nearly 40% above the inflation rate. Yes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable members, government recognizes the high cost of living facing South Africans And we are deeply concerned about this. That is why in the statement of intent, with amongst the parties that constitute the government of national unity, this issue was singled out for special attention. Tackling poverty and the cost of living is one, as I said, of the three strategic priorities of the GNU and forms a central pillar of the medium-term development plan. South Africa's macroeconomic policy framework has been a key lever for shielding the poor from the high cost of living. The framework includes an inflation target, which has helped to keep prices low and stable and has been important in reducing average prices. When inflation is high, the purchasing power of ordinary people becomes weaker. Food price inflation has fallen quite significantly from 12.7% at the end of 2022 to 2.2% in March 2025. Headline inflation, which is a measure of the general cost of living, has also declined, averaging 4.4% in 2024, and inflation has even moderated further to 2.7% in March 2025. Food staples such as maize meal, brown bread, rice, hemp, milk, eggs, and other basic foodstuffs remain exempt from VAT. And this helps to cushion the lower income households in our country from the high prices. Our fiscal policy has been redistributive, prioritizing poor and low income households. In the end, government spends around 60%, and with the current budget, Minister of Finance advises that it has edged up to 61% of its revenue on the social wage, which includes spending on social grants as well as education and health. In the budget presented by the minister last week, social grants were increased at a rate higher than inflation. The provision of free basic services, such as water, electricity, for indigent households is an essential measure in reducing the high cost of living. It's been calculated that in other areas it would amount to between 400 and 600 rand that is given as a subsidy to our people. The bulk of local government's equitable share in this year's budget goes towards a free basic services package to over 11 million households in our country. Now, this package of free municipal services continues to be a key tool for reducing poverty and inequality and raising living standards and facilitating access to greater economic opportunities for many of our people. It is therefore essential that municipalities ensure that this support reaches all the households that need it. Now, I keep on urging municipalities, Honorable Speaker, to revamp their indigent registers. A number of municipalities have not been doing so on a regular basis. And the allocations that are then given to them are then diverted to a whole number of purposes. And I'm sure that the chief whip of the opposition party, having been a councillor in a municipality, will testify to this. I found this to be especially the case in Johannesburg, where the indigent allocation has not been as properly used as it should have been. Another measure to mitigate the impact of the high costs of basic necessities are a network of over 3,000 center-based food programs that were established by the Department of Social Development to provide nutritious food to poor people, and vulnerable people. Now, these centers provide comprehensive services that include psychosocial support, welfare, and developmental interventions while addressing the immediate need of providing access to nutritious food and on a daily basis. We're also working to address some of the structural factors that contribute to the cost of living, including the impact of apartheid spatial planning. We are therefore reforming our housing policies to provide affordable housing closer to economic centers, as well as improving the capacity of commuter rail services, making it in the end less expensive for people to get to work or to access services. So there is a whole plethora of interventions and measures that are being put in place and have indeed been put in place to lessen the cost of living for our people. And many of us will admit that the cost of living has just continuously gone high and high, and it is the responsibility of government to make sure that we do cushion the blow that our people suffer from higher costs of living on an ongoing basis. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Michalakis.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Mr. President, for reconfirming the GNU's commitment to shielding South Africans against the high cost of living. But ultimately, Mr. President, there is only one way for us to achieve this, and that is to grow our economy. In your State of the Nation address, you announced the 3% economic growth target to create much needed jobs. But our growth rate has since been revised to approximately 1%, which I think you would agree is far below what our people need. A recent IMF analysis indicated that by cutting red tape for our entrepreneurs and halving business and labor market regulations, we can narrow our rate of inequality by up to 10% to grow our economy, to create jobs, and to achieve further economic redress. Mr. President, will you commit to a comprehensive cross-departmental review of all business and trade regulations and to instruct your ministers to repeal those regulations that stifle small businesses and do not add value to the economy and job creation? Thank you.
The Honorable President.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Michalakis, you and I are ad idem on this matter. If you have listened very carefully, and I've been told that you are a very careful listener, if you have listened carefully, you will recall that this is a matter that I've raised on a number of occasions. Now, you want a commitment from me. Be careful what you ask for, because you may get it, because that's precisely what ministers in the GNU government are being directed to focus on, to reduce the regulatory burden. And all of us will admit that our country is overburdened with regulations. We've got tons and reams and, pages of regulations for everything. And I often say sometimes it was moving the pendulum from one end, which was apartheid, and we moved it all the way to wipe out the ravages of apartheid. And so the pendulum moved from left to right without resting in the middle. And what we should have done is to get the pendulum in the middle so that we don't have the extremes of what we inherited or what we thought we are correcting. So therefore, in the 7th administration, the process has to be every department must look at its regulatory framework. And those regulations that militate against growth, those regulations that impede our growth movement forward quickly should be reviewed. And those that will need this House to review, either in the form of laws or regulations, should be brought here with clear arguments of why they need to be amended. So this regulatory review process is what I'd like all of us in the government to be about. So that we have speed of execution of various interventions that we have. We've got big dreams. We've got a medium-term development plan that engenders us to do many things of an innovative nature fast. But we now need to focus on what is going to hold us back from doing precisely that. So you and I are in agreement, but be careful what you ask for, because you will get it. Thank you.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Sapu.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. President, in reference to the recent stats issued by Stats SA on the issue of unemployment, which reveals that 60% of the 32% of unemployment are young people. I want to check, President, what are the immediate government interventions to address the issue of high rate of unemployment for young people in this country? Linked to that, President, what is the government interventions to assist rural provinces like your Eastern Cape to attract investors, for them to grow their economy, and for them to enable MSMEs, which are the sector that has a capacity to create massive jobs? I wanted to check that, President. Thank you very much.
The Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Precisely the last point that you raised, what measures and interventions are we taking to assist small, medium enterprises? Our Department of Small Business is committed to assisting small, medium enterprises as much as we possibly can. And we've come up with a number of interventions, grants and loans and assistance programs, such as, increasing their level of capacity to learn new ways of doing business, and also assisting the sectors, the various sectors, to be well geared for economic growth and job creation. So our focus really is to assist as many of our entrepreneurs as possible. And to this end, we're launching funds, the Transformation Fund that we've launched, and a number of other funds through CIFA and CEDA, all that we are doing to assist our small, medium enterprises. And with regard to staving off the high level of unemployment, a number of programs are underway, but in the end, we've got to grow our economy, and growing our economy requires that we should make South Africa an investable economy, where those with money can come to South Africa and say, we want to invest. Current companies in our country should not feel hamstrung with regard to investment. This morning, we were having the infrastructure symposium, where we were reaffirming the commitment that the Minister of Finance made here, that we are, over the next 3 years, going to pour in R1 trillion in infrastructure. And we did say this morning that infrastructure is the flywheel that is going to enable our economy to operate at a higher level, as to be able to create jobs, not only in construction and maintenance, but also in the other related subsectors, such as manufacturing and many others. And it is through a commitment such as this that we'll be able to demonstrate a clear ambition on our part, which it is, that we intend to grow the economy and inject needed funding. Now, this morning we said that whilst the government will commit to R1 trillion over the medium term, we would like to attract R3 trillion from the private sector into the economy. If we can, over the next 3 years, pump R4 trillion into our economy, it is bound to have a positive impact. And to this end, we have come up with a number of funding, innovative and new funding methods to be able to entice the private sector to invest. in infrastructure, in our economy. And it was very interesting that this time round, the symposium was oversubscribed. It had many, many more people who were in attendance. Minister McPherson and Deputy Minister Zikalala rather, were quite overjoyed by the attendance of the various people who are either financiers, construction companies, material suppliers, and developmental agencies and all that. So that is showing a very positive indication that there is interest in our infrastructure build ambitions, and they are being backed up no longer just by statements or paper. They are now being backed up by our clear intent to ensure that projects that we've spoken about are now executable. And we've been able to attract a number of people, learned people, engineers and various scientists, to make sure that the projects are project ready and they are fundable, and we are able to see a great deal of progress. With that, Honorable Sapu, we will be able to make sure that, yes, we do generate growth, because it is when the economy grows that we will be able to lower the incidence of unemployment in our country. Thank you very much.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Matwe.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. President, what you just said now is not different from what you've been saying over the years. The reality is that your own government has not grown this economy by more than 2%. We're talking today, your own government revised the economic growth that they put last month from 1.8 to 1.4. So there is no economic growth that is going to happen in the medium term. You have not been able, President, to reduce the high levels of unemployment. You have not been able, President, to shield the poor from the high cost of living. We've seen the Minister of Finance now attempting to increase the fuel levy, which will deepen the crisis of our country. So we saw you taking a trip to the US last week. And we're asking ourselves, what strategic economic interventions are you trying to lock in? Because you are saying you went there to mend relations. How is your trip going to assist us? President?
Thank you, Honourable Member. Your time has expired.
President, you dismally failed, Deputy Speaker, to finish, to protect the constitutional ruling that
Honourable
said
Member,
that
your
kill the
time
board,
has
the farmer
expired.
chant is not
Honourable Matwe, your
that
time has
constitutes to hate
expired.
speech and does not incite
Honourable Matwe,
violence. So,
Honourable Matwe, I'm now cautioning you. You are
I'm
going
finishing
beyond your time and you are not
That's fine.
acting. Honourable Matwe, Honourable Matwe,
You have to protect me.
honourable members, please give me the opportunity. Honourable Matwe, you are now 40 seconds over your time.
Deputy Speaker, I was disrupted by these people.
No, honourable member, there
President,
was
you failed
no
to protect the
interruption.
constitutional
Honourable Matwe, will you please
Unlike President
sit down?
Mbeki,
Honourable
when he had
Matwe,
a
I
safe
am now
platform, he
cautioning you.
protected the constitution
Honourable
of this country.
Matwe, will you please leave the chamber? Honourable Matwe, I have been cautioning you a number of times. Now I'm asking you because you are ignoring and disrespecting the chair. Honourable Matwe, I have asked you to please leave the chamber.
Chairperson,
Yes,
you
she
only
must
caution
kindly
them
leave,
once.
Speaker.
How many
Leave the
cautions must you give a member before you eject them from the house?
Which I have.
You cautioned her once. You
No,
said
I
I'm
did
cautioning
not.
you.
I said
Then she
caution
sat down.
times. No, after
No.
46 seconds. Honourable Matwe, please leave the chamber. That is my instruction. If you do not want to, Sergeant at Arms, could you please assist? Honourable Matwe.
But Deputy Speaker, is it because he was touching you on the Americans? You can't do that.
Honourable Sergeant at Arms.
No, Deputy Speaker, that's not how we operate. No, that's not how we operate. You only just told her that she has spoken over 40 seconds.
And after that, she must leave the house. That's not how we work.
That's how you work in the EFF, not in parliament.
For the time, and did not stop them. Honorable Mente, I am also cautioning you, that is now the second one. Honorable Mente, and the Sergeant at Arms, I am now calling the Sergeant at Arms.
Doesn't change the fact, Deputy Speaker, you can remove us from this
You need
house.
to follow
Then
the rules of parliament when I speak.
Which says still the poor to the farmer is a
Please
crime
come and assist
and
the
therefore
Honorable Maute.
constitute to a hate speech. That's why you are sitting on that
We
chair.
are trying very hard to
Because
impress Julius on our time.
that was
Stop it and go out.
I fuck off when I.
Not in an auction of impressing Julius Malema, man. Can you go out? You don't have time.
You are scared of white
Yeah,
people.
but yeah, we're not doing
Honorable
that
Speaker.
one.
We are worshipping white people here.
Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Now the second one. Honorable
You are
Mente.
scared of white people when I speak. You are scared of white people.
Honorable Deputy Speaker.
I'm not recognizing anyone now. You may not, in terms of the rules, intervene at any point
But
whilst a
Deputy
member
Speaker, our
is
hands are up
asking.
here. Can you recognize us as well?
I have just ruled, Honorable Mkalipi, you should know the rules, that whilst someone is being removed, that you may not interrupt the process, because then you are also in breach of the rules. So I am cautioning you, Honorable Mkalipi.
You want all members of the EFF out of that house
Honorable
because you're
Mkalipi, I am cautioning you now for the second time.
But Deputy Speaker, why are you saying
Honorable
you are questioning
Mkalipi,
me
that
while I'm
is now the
quiet?
third time that I'm cautioning you.
But
The
I'm
table,
quiet.
please
Why are you
remove
calling my name while I'm quiet?
Honorable Mkalipi from the
Hey,
platform.
keep quiet. You are not quiet when I'm calling. Keep quiet. Hey,
Honorable
when
Piri.
shut up, when Piri, shut up.
you are scared of white people,
Honorable
Deputy
members, we will now
Speaker.
proceed. Honorable
You are scared of white
members,
Honorable
people.
Deputy Speaker, can I rise on a
Very
point of
scared.
order?
Honorable members, I'm now cautioning you on the platform. You have not been recognized. And we will now proceed. Honorable Mkaula, order. Honorable Mente, what is your point of order?
The point of order is on you, Speaker, and your unfairness. Honorable Piri there on the platform has been speaking. You have never questioned him. You have never thrown him out.
Honorable
Yet
Mente,
Mkalipi, you have thrown her out. For what good reason?
Honorable Mente, focus.
No, you are unfair. You are unfair. I'm very focused. You are
Honorable
unfair.
Mente, I am now cautioning you
She's
for
only
the third time.
concentrating on EFF members.
Honorable member
You're only
of the
concentrating
MK.
on EFF member.
Honorable member. Honorable member, I have made a ruling and you do know what you have to do. Once a ruling has been made, you can go to the speaker and then to the rules committee. Honorable President, please proceed.
Honorable Speaker, I just have a point of order.
Thank you,
You
Honorable.
can't have a point of order.
Deputy
The ruling
Speaker.
has been made. The ruling has been made.
Honorable members on the platform, order.
May you grant me, Honorable.
Honorable Tutete, I'm going to remove you from the platform now. Please remove the member from the platform. Honorable Mente, I have now cautioned you a number of times. I am going to next time now ask you to leave the chamber. The same honorable member of the MK. Honorable member of the MK, do you know the rules that if a ruling has been made on the same matter, you cannot raise another point of order? So is this a new point of order? Honorable member, then you go to the Rules Committee with your complaint. And please do, honorable member, order. We will now proceed, Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I've now forgotten what the question was. But well, there was a question. I guess I need to respond to it. I think the honorable member's question was, what is it that we sought to achieve by going to the United States. And I think that does require an answer. We were very
Order, honorable members, Honorable Mkaula. Honorable member, I'm not recognizing you now. Honorable President, please proceed.
Thank you. The issue of relations between South Africa and the United States was an issue that occupied many people's minds in our country. And many had raised concerns about the deteriorating relationship between our two countries, having recognized the important role that both our countries play in each other's economy, apart from various political relations, diplomatic relations. And we realized that the impact on our country's economy would be adverse unless we were able to repair or reset the relationship between our two countries. And to this end, in a telephone conversation with President Trump, when we were discussing other global matters such as Russia and Ukraine, we agreed that we should meet. And it was to this end that we traveled to the United States with a delegation that all of you would have seen as it was broadly televised. We really had three objectives. The first was to reset the relationship between two trading partners, partners that have had dealings over many years and where we invest in each other's economies. The United States has some 601 companies that are invested in South Africa. And we similarly have a number of companies that have invested in the United States. A number of our jobs, some of the sectors that would be affected would be agriculture, the auto sector, and the steel and aluminum sector, and a number of other sectors that make machines, and the mining sector, where we sell critical minerals to the United States, would be adversely affected if the relations were not straightened out. So it was to this end that we were motivated to reset that relationship. The second objective was to set up a process of engagement between the United States and South Africa. There had hitherto been a process of disengaging, where we were no longer really engaging at a government level to deal with issues that governments normally deal with on an ongoing basis. And we wanted to engage on tariffs, on investments, and related matters. And the third objective was to discuss the G20 and to highlight the important role that a country like the United States, which is the largest economy in the world, plays in the activities of the G20, which we are so deeply immersed in and having the responsibility of leading. And that it's important for the United States to engage with the G20 process and ultimately to entice the leader of the United States to come to the Leaders' Summit at the end of the year. So broadly, those were our objectives. And there could be a fourth one, which would be just the promotion of investment by American companies and South African companies in each other's economies. So we do believe that we achieved those objectives. The engagement with the American government has started. Soon after we left Washington, the engagement has now commenced, and there are discussions that are happening in relation to tariffs, in relation to investments, and we believe that we have reset the relationship despite what we could have seen on television. We were able to have a much more meaningful discussion and meeting with President Trump and his representatives during the quiet room where we had lunch together and had meaningful exchanges on a number of issues. And we do believe that the engagement will continue through the G20 process. So that was the main objective of the visit. And we do believe that the United States continuing to play such a big role in the life of our economy, it was necessary and important for us to go and engage with them, because many of our people's jobs are dependent on our economic dealings with the United States. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Khadebe.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Your Excellency, given the sharp increase in food prices and its impact on household well-being, particularly in rural and underdeveloped areas, what role does the President envisage for the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development in supporting subsistence farming and small-scale agricultural initiatives as a buffer against food price volatility? Thank you.
The Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. The issue of the rising prices in food items is a concern for all of us, but we've seen how the lowering of inflation has had a rather positive impact on the number of food price items, and so that pleases us. But at the same time, our VAT exemption on staple foods also helps to cushion the poor against rises of prices in a number of others. But we can't stop there. We do need to embark on other interventions to assist our people to be productive when it comes to agriculture, to land reform. As it is now, our land reform process continues. Minister is continuing to hand over certificates and to engage with beneficiaries of land reform and to encourage them that rather than take money compensation, they should rather stay on the land, and that we will embark on assistance programs to help them to turn the land that they inherit or get into productive centers. The Department of Agriculture is also assisting a number of farmers and targeting a number of subsectors of the agricultural sector as a whole, be it in livestock, even dealing with a number of other challenges like foot and mouth diseases, and also helping your small and medium farmers or emerging farmers, and also in grain production, in vegetable production. A lot of programs are underway to assist in that regard. And we are embarking on a plethora of programs. This we see as a great opportunity to bring in many small-scale farmers. You might recall that during COVID, we were able to reach more than 24,000 farmers that we assisted during that period with vouchers which enabled them to get seeds and implements and fertilizers. And that showed us that it is possible to assist many farmers indeed with various interventions or through various interventions. And this is a program that we've tested, and we're now utilizing even technology to ensure that we are able to spread all these assistance measures more broadly. So it is an area of focus, and we intend, as led by Minister Steenhuisen and Minister Nyonjo, to attack or to deal with a number of interventions that are prevalent in their two ministries, particularly as we separate the ministries. They now have clear line of sight of what needs to be done to assist our people, and also to make sure that we continue assisting those and supporting those and creating a conducive environment for those who are the food producers of our country, both small and big, throughout the country. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Question 10 has been asked by the Honorable C.P. Mulder. The question is, considering the basic minimum program of priorities of the Statement of Intent for the 2024 Government of National Unity, which identifies the importance of rapid, inclusive and sustainable economic growth, the encouragement of fixed capital investment and industrialization, along with job creation as key focus areas for the 7th administration, what new economic policies have he and the Cabinet developed since the formation of the GNU on July 3, 2025, to achieve the specified focus areas? The Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. The medium-term development plan, it really is the main plan that the government has put in place to foster economic development. And the main elements of the economic strategy that are outlined in the medium-term development plan are embedded in that plan, and the apex priority of the MTDP is to achieve inclusive growth and job creation. That is the key focus. This plan is underpinned by a stable macroeconomic framework, which creates a conducive environment for long-term investment. To achieve higher levels of economic growth, we are in many ways undertaking massive investment in infrastructure and upgrading our maintenance activities. Now, in the budget speech delivered by the minister, he confirmed that public infrastructure spending, as I said earlier, in the next 3 years will amount to 1 trillion rand. He noted that allocations towards capital investment remains the fastest growing area of spending, ensuring that we use our resources to foster and to support growth. And with this, public spending on infrastructure will be complemented by the reforms that we are and have embarked upon to the regulatory framework to enable public-private partnerships, as well as streamlining infrastructure financing and project preparation mechanisms to be firmly installed and implemented. Now, a further pillar of our economic strategy is to support sectors with high potential for growth and job creation. This includes growing our key export sectors like mining and agriculture, while developing new industries such as renewable energy, where we are continuing to distinguish ourselves, electric vehicles, and green hydrogen, and harnessing our unique advantages in the green economy. And we are strengthening the capacity of the state, which is another key pillar of the medium-term development plan, including turning around the financial and operational performance of state institutions and improving delivery at local government level. We are focusing on how we should be able to strengthen local government. And we are working in partnership with business and alongside other social partners to promote employment through public and social employment, where work experience and training initiatives are made available to those who participate in our public work programs. Our public work programs are aimed at bringing in not only young people, but people who are also beyond 35, to be able to give them either skills or training possibilities so that they are able to support their own livelihoods. Finally, we are implementing structural reforms to increase efficiency as well as competitiveness while addressing constraints on job creation. Now, the second phase of Operation Vulindlela, with the first phase having been quite successful, is an important part of our strategy to drive more rapid and inclusive economic growth, and also to make sure that we implement this second phase with a great deal of vigor, having learned from the experience of implementing Vulindlela 1. This will be achieved by sustaining the momentum that has already been developed and following through on the implementation of the existing reforms that are beginning to demonstrate their full impact. And this includes, for instance, transforming the electricity sector to achieve energy security, creating a world-class logistics system to support export growth, investing in water infrastructure to ensure water security, and to reform the visa regime or system to attract skills as well as investment. Now, the reform agenda is being expanded into new areas to improve the performance of local government and to create dynamic and integrated cities that will be able to lead economic activity and also to harness digital public infrastructure as a driver of growth and inclusion. Now, as part of this next phase of reform, Cabinet recently approved the ambitious digital transformation roadmap to leverage digital public infrastructure as being part and parcel of our growth program, focusing on digital identity, digital payments, data integration, and digital services as well. Now, this may sound very ambitious, but we are determined as the Government of National Unity to execute all this. Now, at the direction of Cabinet, the Presidency and National Treasury are working to develop an integrated economic growth strategy, which will bring together these interventions in a coherent, focused, and carefully prioritized manner. We will soon be having that discussion. And in the end, this strategy discussion will bring together, as I say, the various threads that we've identified to foster economic growth in our country. There is absolute agreement within the Government of National Unity that achieving growth and job creation is our most important and urgent priority. There's no other priority that is as important as this one, and we will be focusing on all this in all its ramifications that include, for instance, making our country safer, dealing with criminality, dealing with corruption, dealing with wasteful expenditure, and all of this will then lead to engendering the growth that our economy deserves. I thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
The first supplementary question, before I proceed, Honorable Paulson, on what point are you rising?
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, it's not a point, but to my knowledge, there are members here and there are chamber staff. What is the status of those two gentlemen there in front? What do they do here?
They are part of the gallery.
Not in the gallery, they're in the chambers.
Honorable Paulson, I will
Gallery's
ask,
over there.
Honorable
What are they doing in the
Paulson,
chambers?
we will inquire. We will inquire.
But why do you,
Honorable
but why
Paulson,
were you so arrogant? Couldn't you say that instead of telling me that that's not the gallery?
because I believe they're in
The gallery is
gallery.
over there.
Honorable Paulson, I have now said we will inquire. We will now proceed. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Mulder.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Thank you, Honourable President, for a very comprehensive reply, an impressive reply, making it very clear all the steps that are being taken by government. And if there's one thing that the Government of National Unity, I think, have in common is the commitment to economic growth. And a lot of things, the things that you mentioned this afternoon is in terms of Operation Vulindlela. And we accept that, and if I understand it correctly, it means to open the way, but the way is not open. There's a problem with the way, with all due respect. I want to say that if you look at the World Bank's report, it clearly indicates that the average growth at the moment for developing countries is around 4%. If you look at the top 10 African countries, the growth rates there vary between the lowest 5.9% to 7.9%. Even in terms of all the things that you have now mentioned this afternoon, your own Minister of Finance in the budget last week indicated that our current growth rate is 1.4, hopefully next year 1.6, despite all the programs, hopefully in the year thereafter 1.8%. Our unemployment is 32%. Something is wrong. There's a huge problem. And the problem, Honourable President, is that all the issues that you mentioned, all the wonderful programs and the investments, as far as I'm concerned, are based on the current economic policy of government, the underlying economic policy. Now, that's why I asked the question specifically, are you prepared to take the initiative and to take the necessary steps to amend, to develop an economic policy that can make possible real economic growth in South Africa? Because that's what we need. If we don't have real economic growth, none of the programs that you've mentioned will be successful. None of them will be implemented. But that real new economic policy, as far as I'm concerned, needs to take a different approach with regard to certain basic things that I don't know if you're prepared to do that with regard to Black economic empowerment, with regard to equity, employment equity.
Thank you,
with
Honourable
regard to
Mulder. Your time has
and
expired.
Preparation without compensation. Are you prepared to do that? Thank you, sir.
The President.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I did say that the Government of National Unity is going to spend a considerable amount of hours in a number of days to come, just discussing the economic strategy and trajectory that we should pursue. Our ambition, Honorable Member, Dr. Mulder, is to make sure that our economy grows higher than what the projections are currently. That is our ambition. And the medium-term development plan gives the pointers of where we should be going. What the Minister of Finance also articulated on this platform also gives the pointers of where we are headed. And I'm rather surprised and taken aback when I hear that policies of Black economic empowerment militate against the growth of our economy. That I find quite surprising, because I work from the starting point that our economy was held back over many years by the racist policies of the past. Those racist policies prevented all South Africans, or the majority of South Africans, to play a meaningful role in the economy of their own country. They were brought in, Black people were brought in as hewers of wood and drawers of water. And they were just brought in as laborers. They were not even seen as consumers. They were not seen as active players in the economic landscape of our country. With democracy, what has now been happening, and what we seek to see happening, is the opening up of the economy, the broadening up of economic participation, which, if you observe, Honorable Dr. Mulder, you will actually see, and it's right in your face. You know, in apartheid South Africa, if you looked, for instance, at adverts for commodities, You would never see a black person being made to advertise either soap or milk or anything. Today, every advert you look at has got black people because it's now been realized that it is black people who are the consumers and they are economic players. Now, those who would want black people just to play the consumer role are truly mistaken. Black people must play a productive role as well. So I am really baffled. I'm baffled by people who still hanker for policies of the past. And to have you, sir, saying black economic empowerment is holding our economy back goes completely against even what the World Bank says. Now, this I find quite surprising because what is known very clearly as well is that, and a few years ago, the World Bank and the IMF came up with a report that one of the things that holds South Africa's economy back from growth is the level of concentration. Concentration because they said the ownership of the economy is in far too few hands. Ownership has not spread. That is what the World Bank and IMF said. And that is precisely what happens in other countries. When you go to other countries, you'll find the citizens. I mean, in Africa, it will largely be black people. Wherever you go in the world, it will be the citizens. Now, in our country, it was just the few privileged, and may I continue to say white people, who continue to own the means of production, who continue to own the productive economy of our country. Now, we took them to America. Now, this I find very worrying. I find it very worrying that we continue to have this notion that BEE is the one that's holding our economy back. It is the partial and exclusive ownership of the means of production in our country that is holding this economy from growing. So what we seek to do, as set out in the equality clause in our constitution, to redress the imbalances of the past. If we accept that the ownership of our economy is imbalanced, the clause on equality in our constitution seeks to undo that, to redress that. So therefore, ownership of our economy should be broadened. And I can tell you, Dr. Mulder, there's nothing that gives our people joy, particularly black people, as they go around and they find that this production facility is owned by a black person. It warms one's heart. It makes us feel so good because we've come from a horrible past when that was not allowed by law, where people were arrested. If you wanted to set up an economic facility in town, you were put to jail. But today, we're saying all that must be put behind us. We must allow more and more people to play an important role in the economy of our country. And this is what baffles me by those who are opposed to Black economic empowerment. I say, what do you want to see happening? Do you want to see Black people continuing to play the role of laborers, drawers of water, hewers of wood, and consumers only? Why can't Black people be made to own productive aspects of our economy? Why can't they be rich as well? That is what needs to happen. Because it is when they get to that level. Dr. Mulder, you look at the Afrikaners, the history of your people. If you look at the history of your people, they were held back by the English. And With later days, they were enabled. They became more and more economically empowered. And they became economically empowered due to the policies of apartheid, the laws that were put in place, the sweet deals that they were given, and they started getting more and more into being serious economic players. Why can't the same be done for Black people? Why? And this baffles me. Really, I don't understand it, because to me, that is the normal thing to do. You need, as a nation, to say, this group has been disempowered. It's been disempowered. We need to empower it. Like the approach we have now, the rural areas of our country have been disadvantaged, and we're seeking to direct more and more assistance and empowerment to the rural areas so that the rural areas also come up. Now, anyone who will tell me that that is wrong, really, I think they must have their heads examined, because that cannot be the case. So my answer, therefore, is our objective is to spread economic participation broadly. And I will hold on to the argument that the more we have previously disadvantaged people playing a role in the economy of their own country, the better it is. Because then we're able to bake a much bigger cake so that everyone participates in having the cake. Thank you very much.
Because we don't have. Thank you, Honourable President. Could I again ask the members on the platform to please make sure that your devices are muted? The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Makubela.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Your Excellency, Mr. President, you mentioned that the medium-term development plan responds to the objectives of the basic minimum program of the GNU. Correctly so, Mr. President. How then will you ensure that the government that you preside over, which is the government of national unity, ensures that the three main strategic objectives of the MTDP are correctly financed and there is adequate budget allocation towards the minimum program, which is aligned to the MTDP? Thank you.
The Honourable President.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. That is a very good question, particularly after the presentation of the budget. If you look at the budget as presented, it is a growth budget, much as a number of aspects or platforms have been scaled down. It is a growth budget. And a clear demonstration of why it is a growth budget is the allocation, for instance, for what we believe will drive the economy, the infrastructure spend. Over many years, our infrastructure spend has been going down and down, and wrongly so. And we've now made a clear commitment. And this has also been largely after doing quite a lot of research on finding new and innovative methods of funding infrastructure. We have for the longest time been held back by the constraints that we've always believed in, that the fiscus is so constrained that we cannot be more ambitious. Now we're becoming more ambitious and saying, yes, there are other and new funding methods. For instance, the minister spoke about launching an infrastructure bond, where we are going to be able to attract private investors to buy an infrastructure bond so that we can build now. And obviously we'll service the bond as we move on. And it becomes a bond that is traded. And there are other new methods also. Front-loading funding, there are PPPs that we will enter into. There are build, operate, and transfer processes that we will embark upon. So a plethora, or rather many funding methods and opportunities are coming to the fore. And that is why we characterize this budget as a growth budget and also a distributive budget where we are able to distribute a little bit more to our people. We would have wanted to do much more if we had more firepower or better financial resources. So attainment of what we've set out in our statement of intent is precisely how we want to fund this budget and fund our ambitions going forward. And I do believe that we have the capability to do so. And our growth ambitions are beyond what is being projected now. We want to grow our economy at a higher level, and sitting down in the next few days as the Government of National Unity, to properly structure our real growth path and what we need to do, either to curb spending that is not necessary, to save more money, to channel resources into what is productive and what will have an impact, is precisely what we're going to be focusing on. So I think we are on a good path, a path that is going to lead to greater growth going forward. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Burke.
The President, you've answered the first part of my question relating to our ambition to exceed economic growth forecasts, which of course for the next 3 years averages 1.6%, according to Treasury. And we in the DA are committed to a GNU that does in fact grow the economy. So the balance of my question is whether you intend to drastically accelerate the policy measures that are pro-growth.
The Honorable President.
Honorable Burke, as you are being applauded for the question that I've already answered, the answer to the remainder of your question is yes, we are determined to foster policies that are going to promote growth. And that is the strength, in my view, of the Government of National Unity, because it brings together different viewpoints of 10 political parties working together to a common objective of growing the economy of our country. So I see us going beyond the statement of intent, buckling down with various parties that are also supportive of the work that is being done by the Government of National Unity, and focusing on growth, because in the end, growth is what really matters. It is the economic life of our people that really matters more than many other things that we keep talking about. So we are going to focus on policies that are going to foster growth. So I would say, bring them on. Let those policies come on. And I'd like to hear more, especially from you as well, because you seem to be full of ideas. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Maimane.
Mo Presidente, ke a dumelana le wena gore maAforika Borwa a sokola, bontsi ba bone ga ba bereki, ebile ikonomi ya rona ga ya gola ka tsela e tshwanetseng ka go se ka teng. Ke amogele leeto la go ya ko Washington. Mo Presidente, potso ya ka ke given the fact that there's been no relatively new policy shifts in the last 10 years, despite Operation Vulindlela 1 and Operation Vulindlela 2, having read the medium-term development plan, what I want to know, Mr. President, is that post you coming back from the US, in 48 hours, the Minister of Communications tabled regulations that seem to do away with the equity aspect of BBBEE. Now, Mr. President, you and I both agree we need foreign direct investment. So what I want to understand from that position, that of the tabling of the new regulation, is whether the same will be extended to South African companies so that we can improve growth capital formation? Because we can obsess about GDP.
Thank you, Honourable Maimane. Your time has expired.
Let's obsess about investment, Mr. President. So I want to know if you are changing that
Honourable
regulation.
Maimane, your time has expired. Honourable President.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. We expect that our growth path going forward will be a combination of various initiatives, interventions, and without steering away from the key tenets of our Constitution. Our Constitution is very clear. We've come from a horrible past which we even addressed in our Constitution, in the Equality Clause, where we said we need to recognize what has happened. Our preamble speaks to that. Our Equality Clause is quite clear that in order to foster equality in our country, which is a noble objective, we need to take a number of measures, legislative and otherwise, that are going to redress the impact of what was done in the past. So as we move forward, we are going to need to address those terrible legacies of the past as we grow our economy. And what we seek to do is to grow an inclusive economy, not an economy that exclusively focuses on the growth of a particular group, but we want an inclusive economy that focuses on the growth of all and focusing on those who were right at the bottom of the step ladder, so that they too can move up to the top of the step ladder. So to do so, we will need to take into account where we come from, what our Constitution says, what our laws say, and be able to move forward in a very determined way. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Question number 11 has been asked by the Honourable Mente. Your point of order.
Yes, Deputy Speaker, we haven't received an answer on who are those gentlemen seated there in the chambers.
My apologies, Mr. President. Yes, indeed, I have just received it, so I will gladly read it to you. Those gentlemen are protectors, and that is indeed in the gallery, although not clearly delimited, and that will be done in future. Thank you. Honourable Mente.
No, Speaker, can we do a proper demarcation, because this side is the House. Anyone who's not a member sworn in can't be on this side of the House. They must go sit there. We're members of the House here. We've been searched there. We're not carrying any firearms. We're not going to shoot anyone. Can they go sit that side and not sit with us this side? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Dugmore.
But whose protectors are those, Deputy Speaker?
Honourable Pambu, I did not recognize you. Honourable Dugmore.
Thank you very much.
Please recognize me.
Thank you very
Dugmore
much.
is on the floor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, this is a point of order. I believe that you have provided an explanation, and I think that if there are further concerns about your point about demarcation, this is a matter that the Rules Committee can discuss. I really don't think it's an issue that needs to be dealt with now. The explanation has been given, and I think that's adequate.
Thank you, Honourable Dugmore. That is what my ruling would have been now, that this matter be taken to the Rules Committee. It can also be discussed at the Chief Whip's Committee.
Honourable
Chief Whip's
Speaker.
Forum. Honourable Maimane, is that a point of order?
It's a different matter, Honourable Speaker. It's just the President did not answer my question. He gave a similar response to the previous one.
Honourable Maimane, you know full well that it is the President's prerogative to answer the question in the way that he sees fit. And you can write to the President if you have any further clarity. Honourable members, I have now ruled on this matter. I'm not taking any. Honourable Chilinga, no. Honourable member, this is now the second time that after every ruling I've made, you want to challenge the ruling. You know how to challenge the ruling. It is not here. Honourable member, I do not recognize you any further. We will now proceed. We will now Honorable Makola, honorable members, I have now ruled on this matter and I cannot entertain, in terms of the rules, I cannot entertain any other further comments on that particular matter. Honorable member of the EFF, what is your point?
It's a separate matter, Speaker. You just said they are protectors. Who are they protecting? They are protectors of who? Didn't tell us.
They are the protectors of either the president or the deputy president who is.
So you don't know.
No, but you must be certain, Deputy
You must be
Speaker.
specific.
We don't know who are
the
they
president
protecting.
or protecting the deputy president. We can't just have people here in
I'm
parliament
not
and we don't know who they are.
with you. I can obtain whether they are indeed the president's
Please
protectors.
obtain, Speaker. Yeah, we want to
That
know.
will make you
Everyone who's
happy.
there must
We
be
will do
accounted
that.
for.
Honorable
Everyone who's
Pambu,
there
I
must
have
be
not
accounted for.
recognized you.
I asked to be recognized.
I will recognize you now. What is your point of order?
Deputy Speaker, there mustn't be people in the house there who are not accounted for. You can't just say they're protectors. Who are they protecting? You don't know.
Honorable
You are a
Pambu,
presiding officer. You are the one who's
Honorable
in charge of
Pambu,
that
you
house.
are now
But I'm
dealing
making my
with a
point.
matter on which I have now already expressed myself.
Yeah, but we're calling
Could
for
I
a point
please
of
ask
order
the
on
Chief
you.
Whip of the EFF to instruct your members on the actual
No, you can't tell
rules
our
of
Chief
the-
Whip to
Honorable
instruct
Pambu,
me.
I am
The
now
Chief Whip will
cautioning
instruct
you,
me.
Honorable Pambu.
Point of order,
Honorable
Speaker.
Makola,
Point of order,
Honorable
Speaker.
Makula, Honorable Malema, your member is on the floor.
Thanks, Deputy Chair. Mina ngisuka eNanda, angigadwe muntu. What about yena? Nami kusho ukuthi angize nama-protector ami abazongigada la.
Honorable Makula,
Honorable
I have already ruled on this matter. I do not entertain further discussions. Honorable Makula, we will now proceed. I will obtain the information whether it is indeed the Deputy President's protectors or the President's protectors. Honorable Paulson, I have ruled on this matter. Honorable Makola, Honorable Makola.
The president's hand have been up. Please recognize
Honorable
the president of the
Klangwini,
EFF.
Honorable Klangwini, I have not recognized you. We will now proceed with the next question. Question number 11 has been asked by the Honorable
I said point of order and you said you recognize me.
Honorable Malema. What is your point of order?
Why are you doing
Is
what
it
you
a
are
new
doing?
point of order?
Why? Let me speak. Don't ask me if it's a new point of order or not. You
Yes,
rule
I
on it.
may ask you whether it's a new point
You
of
will
order.
rule.
You don't have
You
a
will
speaking
rule on
opportunity.
it. Allow me to speak. You are not going to do that thing of marshalling us as if you are marshalling your gardeners. We're not your
Honorable
gardeners.
Malema, I am
Listen to me,
cautioning
please.
you.
I want to speak. Listen
No,
to me.
Honorable Malema, I will not listen to you if it is not a point of order or a point of
I
privilege.
said
You
point of
know the
order.
rules.
I said
Honorable
point of order.
Malema, I am
Point of order.
good. What is your point of order? Refer me to the rule.
The point of order is you can't say the president has got a right and a prerogative to answer the questions the way he likes. It's like he doesn't have such a prerogative. He's duty bound to answer questions to the satisfaction of the members of parliament. Because this is not just passing time session. That's where we're going to get proper, real, legitimate answers. So if honorable member says the president has not answered my question, you cannot answer that for president. President must decide whether he has answered that question or he thinks he can do much better. You can't say he's got a prerogative. He doesn't have.
Malema, if you can point me to the exact rule and wording that states that it must be to the satisfaction and liking of the member, I could consider it. But at this point, you did not, and there is no such specific recommendation in the rules or stipulation. We will now proceed, and Honorable Malema, I've now dealt. Honorable Malema, I've now dealt with the matter.
You must also refer me to the rule that says he's got a prerogative. Why do you want people to show the rule and you don't show the rule?
Honorable
Why,
Malema, I have now ruled on this matter.
You are an elected person like all of us.
Honorable Malema, I'm cautioning you, you will be removed.
You can't question me, I'm removed already. What do you mean you can? You are going to question?
Honorable Malema, I am now going to remove you from the
You've been
platform.
bullying EFF
Table
here
staff,
with
if you
your
can please
racism.
remove the Honorable Malema
Your
from
white
the
madam
platform.
bullying the EFF. You think your whiteness gives you
On a point of order, Speaker, Deputy Speaker.
Honorable Pambu, I have
On
not
a point of
recognized
order,
you. We
Deputy
will now
Speaker.
proceed. Honorable Pambu,
I'm
I
ra-
will not
There's a point
recognize
of
you
order.
now. We have
There's
dealt
a
with this
point of
matter.
order. We have been raising our
Honorable
hands
Pambu,
here.
we will now, and Honorable Ntlangwini, I'm cautioning you now. We
Point
will
of
now
order,
remove
Deputy
you from the
Speaker.
platform.
Deputy Speaker, order.
What is your
Can you please
point,
bring
honorable
back the
member?
president? Why are you removing the president? He was still on the podium. Please,
I have
bring
removed
back
him
the president.
because I've
Please.
cautioned
What you are
him,
doing
and
is wrong. This is not your house.
please
Please.
remove that member.
You can't just do
Honorable
as you please.
Shikawa. Honorable members, we can continue and you will all be removed. Honorable Mente, what is your point of order?
Speaker, you have started again with your unfairness. We took this matter of you, and it was particularly you that said a minister here has a prerogative, and we took that matter to the rules. We deliberated on it for the whole night. We left here early hours of the morning talking about that, and we said it must never happen again. It's still happening, and you are saying people have got prerogative. There is no such a thing. We took it to the Rules Committee. I'm a member of Rules. We deliberated on that, and we said it must not. Members of the executive, including the president, they must account, they must answer questions as they are asked. Because the next thing the president can stand up and say, I don't want to answer. And you're going to say, he has answered, he doesn't want to.
No.
If the member says a specific matter has not been dealt with, that specific matter must be dealt with to the satisfaction of the member, because we represent the people here.
Thank you,
We
Honorable
don't
Mente.
represent
You have made your
ourselves.
point. Honorable Skosana.
Yeah, no, thank you very
On a
much.
point of
Deputy.
order, Deputy
Honorable
Speaker,
Ntlangwini, there is someone on the floor.
I've been raising a point of order even before him,
Honorable
and you
Ntlangwini, I
recognize
have not
him before me.
recognized you. Honorable Skosana, please proceed.
Yeah, no,
You are such
Deputy
a
Speaker,
bully.
we acknowledge the matter that is raised by Honorable Mente. However, the rules in their current form, they don't stipulate that, as you correctly indicated earlier, that there's no section when you requested Honorable Malema to refer you to the specific section and clause that says a minister or a president or a deputy must answer to the satisfaction of the member. So we don't have that in the rules. As much as the rules committee debated the matter, but the rules have not been amended. So we're using the rules in their current form. So that matter doesn't stand. Deputy Speaker, thank you.
Indeed. Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Members, I'm not going to entertain any more points of order. We will now proceed with the matters of the House.
On a point of order, Deputy
Honorable
Speaker, I have
Ntlangwini,
been.
what is your specific point of order?
I have been calling a point of order even before this member, and you're
Now,
not going to
please
tell me.
proceed.
You're not going to tell me how to speak, when to speak, and how to say it. What I want to say. One, there is members have been pointing out there's protectors in the house with firearms. You don't even stop the house and let those protectors be removed. So you have now opened the house to say that protectors can come in with their firearms. So why are we not stopping this house that all of us go and get our protectors and our firearms? Two, the president have not answered the question. He have not answered the question. He is running away with answers the whole afternoon, and you have been shielding him in holding him to account to answer questions. What is this that we are busy with?
Honorable
We are
Ntlangwini,
busy with
thank you
question
very
times
much.
to the
Your
president.
point
It
has been made.
scheduled
Honorable
for 3
Ntlangwini,
weeks in advance.
your point has now
And
been made.
you
You are now making
keeping
a
the
whole
president
speech.
from not
I'm now
answering
recognizing the
questions.
Deputy Chief Whip
You
of
are
the
bully.
ANC.
You want to keep and shield this man
On a
from
point
not
of order,
answering
Deputy
Ntlangwini.
Speaker.
questions.
Honorable
You are
Ntlangwini.
bullying the whole all of the
Honorable
members
Ntlangwini,
of the
I've cautioned you.
the
Please
whole
remove the
afternoon.
Honorable
You have been
Ntlangwini from the
bullying us.
platform.
Will not tolerate this bullying tactics
Please
of
remove the Honorable Ntlangwini from the platform. Honorable Lakude.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy.
No. Deputy Speaker.
Honorable
Ntlangwini
Pambu.
No, but I've
Cautioning
raised
you,
my
Honorable
hand.
Pambu. This is now the
but
third
Deputy
time that
Speaker,
you are not
Deputy Speaker,
recognized.
I have
Please
raised
remove
my
the Honorable
hand. You are
Pambu from the
recognizing
platform.
people before me. What?
Please remove the Honorable Pambu. Yes, Honorable Lakude.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, I want you to invoke Rule 69, gross disorderly conduct. Rule 69 says members may not engage in grossly disorderly conduct in the House and its forums, including
deliberately creating serious disorder or disruption. This is what is currently happening in the House. There are members who keep on disrupting, not even acknowledging your rulings. So if the members are not happy with the responses by the president or your rulings, they know what to do. They must write to the Rules Committee. That's where these decisions will be taken. The rules as its current form, we don't have any rule that specifies that you must force a response that will satisfy anyone. So we are currently using edition 9 of the rules. Thank you very much, Honorable Des.
Thank you, Honorable Klakudi. Honorable Member,
Deputy
there is-
Speaker.
Honorable Member, I
Deputy
have
Speaker.
another member, Honorable Dlamini, I have another member on the floor.
Please recognize me after that member.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. On the issues of the protectors, you already made a ruling that you decide on the demarcation in the future. So that matter should not arise. So your decision must be respected.
Thank you, but I have already ruled on that matter. Honorable members, I am not now
Honourable
recognizing
Speaker.
any further points. Honorable Dlamini, I'm not recognizing you. You are,
it ca-
as the Honorable Dlakude has indicated,
No,
very close to
but
falling
Honourable
foul
Speaker,
of
if you-
Rule
if you don't
69,
recognize, it
and
means
we
this
will
session-
now proceed.
it
Please
me-
remove
it
the
means
Honorable
this session
Dlamini
must
from
be
the
suspended.
Honorable
platform.
Speaker.
Speaker,
Honourable
you can't
Speaker,
decide who, how you
recognize
gonna
members
do
of the
that.
EFF. It's very wrong what
Honourable
you're doing,
members,
Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members of the
Can you please recognize members of the EFF?
Don't call
Honourable
us
member.
members of the
Please
EFF.
recognize
You are very
members of
out
the
of
Honourable
order.
member, I have now
Wrong what you're
dealt-
doing.
You are
Honourable
members
member.
of Parliament of the
It's very
Republic
Member,
of South
I am now
Africa.
cautioning you.
Recognize members of the EFF.
Honourable member, please. Honourable members, I am not recognizing any more members because these matters are now very much in line of gross orderly misconduct. Honourable members of the EFF, I have now ruled I am not going to entertain these matters any further. We will now proceed with the right of members who have submitted questions. And what you do not understand, or perhaps not realize, that there's a limited time to the questions that can be asked. You have another question that has to be asked. It will not be asked in time because you are wasting time. You are now going to not allow one of your members or be prejudiced one of your members not to be able to ask the question that they want to ask. So please take that into consideration. We will go up to 5 o'clock, and that is in terms of the rules. Honourable member, I will not recognize you now. I have now ruled.
Speaker, please
And it is time that
recognize
you do
us.
respect the
Please
House.
recognize me, Speaker.
I have said, Honourable Member, I am not recognizing any points now. We will now proceed with the
Honourable
business
Speaker, please
of the
recognize
House.
us. Honourable
Please
Speaker,
remove the
Speaker,
Honourable
recognize
Mai
us.
Lola.
please recognize me.
Please
Deputy
remove the
Speaker,
Honourable
please
Mai
recognize
Lola. You
us.
are now disrupting the House.
Recognize us, Speaker.
Please remove the Honourable Mai Lola.
Deputy Speaker.
Honorable Deputy
Please
Speaker.
remove the Honourable Mokwele.
But Speaker, why
are
you removing our members,
Please remove
Speaker?
the Honourable Mai Lola.
Why are you removing Honourable Mailula? Is it against the rules
Because
to
they
raise
are
on a point of
now
order?
in contempt of the chair. And I will then remove you. Honourable member, you are now in contempt. I've said I do not recognize any points of order now. You also, member. We will now proceed.
Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker.
Point of order, Deputy Speaker. This is the Chief
Honourable
Whip
member,
of the
we will go
EFF.
through all of you
Can you
because you are
recognize me,
now in
please?
contempt.
Deputy Speaker, I'm raising on your point of privilege, please.
Deputy Speaker, can you recognize me, please?
Honourable members, you will now be removed from the platform. You are now impeding in the
Deputy
work and the
Speaker,
rights
can you
of all
recognize
the
me,
other
please?
members. No, I'm not recognizing you. I have indicated that we will now proceed and you are
But
now
it is
in
wrong what
contempt.
you're doing, Deputy Speaker.
Honourable
Issues
members,
have
you
been
can take
raised
that
here.
to the
You
Rules
have
Committee.
people that are not known in the
Honourable
House.
members, table, please remove all the members.
Deputy Speaker, how do you remove the chief whip of the EFF? You are removing the chief
No,
whip.
you are not going to
You are
do
removing
that.
the chief whip of the
removing
EFF
such
and
a
he's trying to
law.
assist you, Deputy Speaker.
You are not
Deputy,
going
my
to do
hand is
that.
up.
Deputy
Recognize
Speaker,
that.
we're trying to assist you. Let's assist
No,
you.
we
I'm
will
rising
now
on a point
remove
of
you.
privilege.
Honorable
What?
Malachungu, we will now remove you from.
You are removing
No,
me
you
for what,
can't
Deputy
remove me.
Speaker?
You
I'm
are
trying to
removing
assist.
who
I'm rising on a point of
Speaker,
privilege.
all of them.
This is not
I'm rising on a point of privilege, Deputy Speaker. It's not a point of order. Allow me a point of privilege, please.
This is not Oval Office. This is not Oval Office here.
Deputy
Honorable
Speaker.
Leklapi, you will
I'm not
now
going to allow you to turn this house into a
Deputy Speaker.
dictatorship.
Oh,
It's very
Honorable
wrong what you're
Deputy
doing,
Speaker.
Speaker.
Honorable Mente, I am not.
It's wrong.
Honorable Deputy
Speaker.
Speaker.
Please remove those
I'm
members.
calling order on you.
You are removing me for what? For
Order,
raising a point of
yeah,
privilege.
order on you.
It's not me.
It's
You
very
can't
wrong what you're
remove
doing.
also the whip of the EFF. You've
That's
just
why
removed
EFF is losing
the
support.
whip of the EFF.
EFF
And you
is
are trying
losing
to
support because of your
Shut up, you.
chaotic behavior.
Shut up, nonsense. You shut up.
We're not Dagmo. You think we're in a
And
farm?
why are you
So,
losing
yeah.
support when ANC?
Deputy Speaker.
Honorable
Let them
members of
all go
the
out.
EFF.
This is how they behave.
Honorable.
The criminal
abusing your
chairperson of
power,
education.
Speaker.
Honorable Lexie.
You are abusing your
Honorable
power, Speaker. We're
Montfredi.
calling order on you. You are abusing your powers.
Honorable
You are
member.
targeting members
Honorable
of the
member.
EFF. You are targeting members of the EFF here. It's very wrong what you're doing, Speaker. We're not going to allow you. We're not going to allow you to do that. It's not
Shut
a
up,
dictatorship here. It's not a dictatorship.
That's why the EFF
are-
is losing
you are
support. Who are they
childish.
protecting?
Shut up, you.
EFF is losing support because of your behavior.
We will now proceed.
Speaker, you said you're going to get
On
back to us.
the House, I have said that I will not take any further points of order.
Deputy Speaker,
On a
what
point of
rule are you
order,
relying on?
Speaker. You can't tell us not.
You're not going to make up your own rules here.
You can't tell us not to raise points of orders. Who are you?
Hey, you
Make up your own rules.
member.
I'm not in a military state here. This is not a military.
Honorable member.
Van orders.
Indeed, it
Again,
is not.
Speaker.
So please stop behaving as if it is like that. Honorable member, please leave the chamber.
Again, Speaker.
No more. You're abusing your
Deputy
powers.
Speaker, I've been raising my hands for the past 10 minutes. For the past 10 minutes, I've been raising my hand. Can I be recognized, please?
Again,
Please leave the chamber.
I'm not going.
Sergeant at Arms, please assist the Honorable Mohale to leave the chamber.
Speaker.
Punt van order, again, Speaker.
Please.
Speaker, you said you are going to get back to us in terms of who are these people protecting. You are the one who said that.
Honorable
You have
member.
not done so.
Honorable member, at what point did you have time to do that with you taking points of order every time?
Please find out. We want to know who are they protecting.
But would you then allow me the time to do that? Well, thank you very much.
How long?
Why would
After how
you protect
long?
a toothless dog? Why would you do that?
Whilst I'm waiting for that reply, we will proceed. And please, Honorable Sergeant or Sergeant at Off, please remove the Honorable Mohale. Thank you. We will now go to Honorable Chair. No, I'm not taking any further points of order. You are now in contempt.
Deputy Speaker, can I speak?
Honorable Motwedi, you were supposed to be removed from the platform.
For what now?
Because I said no further points of order. Honorable Pambu, I have ruled no further points of order.
This is Honorable Tambo.
Pambu, yes, sorry, my apologies. Pambu was on the platform. Yes, Honorable.
Yes,
Member.
thank you very much. I think we must register our displeasure, number one, on the presence of security personnel here, which you said you'll get back to us about, and you are not doing so. You are removing members one by one. That's the first point. They are not democratically elected to be here. And if the president feels unsafe with his own colleagues, why is he sitting on that podium? Why doesn't he address us virtually? Because we were elected with him in the 2024 elections. He's bringing protectors here to protect him from whom? It's grossly disorderly. It's not representative of a democracy that is peaceful, that has political tolerance. That reflects him fearing us as political parties. So why is he continuing to do that? Those protectors must leave the house. And the second thing, Speaker, your conduct today reminds us of Baleke Mbete, reminds us of the one who's in court now, not Viwe Mapisa Ngakula. And speakers who have conducted themselves the way you've conducted themselves have been remembered badly by history. You are protecting misconduct. You're protecting irregular things in this parliament by having securities here sitting with us. Ask them to leave, or ask the president, who's their principal, to ask them to leave. We are not feeling safe or comfortable having people here who are not elected here. Ask them to leave, and we continue
Honourable Member.
with the proceedings of this house.
Honourable Member, thank you. Honourable
Honourable
members,
Deputy Speaker. Honourable
honourable
Deputy Speaker.
members.
Speaker,
You
on a
have-
point of order.
Honourable member, I am on the floor. And you have now referred to the matter, Honourable Tambu, that at this point, that you now see the presiding officer as the same as other presiding officers. The fact of the matter is, Honourable member, that this is about two-way respect. Whether you respect yourself, the House, the other members. You cannot not respect the House and expect of the presiding officer to ignore it. We have rules. So it is a two-way relationship. I have said earlier that I would, Honourable Makaula, you are now doing exactly what I'm talking about. I can't hear what you say because you're shouting. Honourable members, I am on the floor.
Sorry,
I have said,
get respect. Uyasithuka lo usamagwala.
Honourable member,
Ngicela ukhulume naye.
I will deal with that matter now. I have, Honourable Chair.
Nathi sizoza-ke nabantu
Honourable
abasesigada la.
Honourable Nkola, I have said right when the matter was raised by the Honourable Paulson that I will inquire who the two gentlemen are. I have received a reply that that is indeed part of the gallery, although not clearly demarcated. Then there was, Honourable Paulson, then there was another question on whose protectors those are, which I will find out, but you do not give me the opportunity to do so because you have points of order upon points of order to the fact or to the point that you have now disrupted the House and we have 35 minutes left for two questions. So my apologies to the rest of the members who have submitted and prepared their questions, but we will not go beyond 5 o'clock, which is stated in the rules. Honourable member, what is your point?
Deputy Speaker, the problem is that you keep going back on your undertaking not to entertain any further frivolous points of order. And
But why are you speaking? Why are you speaking? Are you not undermining the speaker's ruling yourself?
Member, Honourable Tambo, I did not recognize you, and please switch off your mic.
Complaining of
Let's take Louis Avenue, M11 South,
I
Orange
was being
Road.
falsely accused of not answering the question. He's not being given that opportunity. I ask that you stick to
Why
your
are you
ruling
allowing
as per
it?
Rule 69,
Why are you
as
allowing
referenced by Honourable Zakude.
Why are
Please.
you
Honourable member, I have ruled on that.
allowing
I
him-
have, honourable members, I did not refer to those points of, Honourable Makula, this is now enough. I did not refer to frivolous points of order. It was a matter that members were raising points of order based already on a ruling that I have made, which is against the rules. So that was my point, because it was going over and over on the same matter. Honourable Chairman, I'm not going to recognize you now. I am on the floor. We will now proceed. Honourable Kola.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, I've been waiting for you to recognize me.
Honourable member, I cannot see who you are.
Ndicela unrecognize Deputy Speaker. Andingo Honourable Chair, ngicela unrecognize. Ndicela ubuza into yokubana kutheni ukhupha ii-members ze-EFF phayana kwi-virtual platform bonke nabangathethanga abaphakamise izandla zabo abafuna uthetha wena uba recognize phayana. And kudala sikunike ixesha elininzi maybe iphelile i-hour apha sibuze uba ngobani abayana. For wena into yokokubana uthi akhange sikunike ixesha elaneleyo lokuba ukhangele into yokokubana ngobani abayana ayonyani leyo. So ke ngoku ndicela into yokokubana usixelele i-hour iphelile wena ukhangelana nabantu thina masihlale i-hour apha epalamente sihlale nabantu esingayaziyo uba ngobani. Kuba wena uyabazi aba bantu ngobani na and uthi asizithathi serious.
You are now making a speech. I have removed those members on the honorable member. Honorable member, you are now making a speech. Honorable member. Honorable Gilisha, I'm now cautioning you. Honorable Gilisha, I'm cautioning you, please leave the chamber. Honorable Gilisha, please leave the chamber. Honorable member, please leave the chamber. Honorable
Deputy
member.
Speaker, I'm still waiting
Sergeant
for you
at
to
Arms,
recognize me.
please remove the member, assist the member to leave the chamber.
Deputy Speaker,
Honorable
I'm still waiting
members,
for you
you
to
are
recognize me.
indeed now, my apologies on the platform, but your own members are now interrupting you. Honorable Gilisha. I am not taking any points of order now because you are now going over the same matter. And no, honorable member, I have now ruled, honorable Mente, I have now ruled, we will not proceed on this matter. I will get information whether those protectors are the presidents or the deputy presidents.
For how long? For how long, Chair? It should be a quick process. How long are we going to have unknown people? This is not a military state. Are we in a war here that the president must be protected? Are we in a war?
People who are speaking without.
That's not also a rally. It's not also a rally. It's not also a rally. Ow. What is the president scared of? Are we in a war?
Shut up, you. Shut up, you.
President, what are you scared of? What are you scared of?
Are you all contesting to be put as
deputy, Lonzi? Is this a military
Why are you
state?
removing all our members from the platform?
But Speaker,
You're unfair.
I'm still waiting for you to recognize
You
me.
are
Deputy
abusing your
Speaker.
powers.
Speaker, I'm still waiting for you
Ziphumeleni,
to recognize me.
ziphumeleni,
I've been
You're
raising
also
my hand.
abusing us.
I'm waiting for you, Deputy Speaker, to recognize me. My hand has been up for almost an hour.
Hey, fight Lonzi.
Deputy Speaker, if you are unable to preside over this meeting, maybe you might
Honourable
vacate the
members,
chair and give it to someone else,
honourable
because we've
members
been
on the
raising our hands and
platform,
you don't want to recognize us.
You are now interrupting the proceedings, and I'm therefore ruling that you will all now be removed from the platform.
Who is
so
all?
that
Speaker, I'm
proceedings
asking for you
can
to recognize me.
proceed.
That's all I'm saying. I'm
My
asking for you to
reply
recognize me.
to the question on the protectors. Honourable Mente, would you give me the opportunity to reply on the protectors? Thank you so much. Honourable members, we will now proceed. Honourable Mente, we will now proceed.
No, Deputy Speaker, you have removed Mushala, Mkhonto, Matulelwa, and other members of the EFF that have not spoken, that have not unmuted themselves without you recognizing them. And you now just said you are going to remove everyone on the platform. There's no such a rule, and that is wrong. Please allow all the members of the EFF back on that virtual platform because they did not say anything. Please allow them back. They need to participate.
Honourable member, my apologies. I said that they will be, I wanted to say they would be muted. That is to keep the House in order and to proceed.
But that is not also allowed. It's in the rules.
Then please take it
You
to the rules.
allow people to participate. If you don't
am
feel
now
like they must be
muting
there,
them.
you tell them that
I'm now
you are
muting
not
them.
going to
Honourable
allow them to
Member,
speak.
we
But
will
you
now
can just
proceed.
be in the
Honourable
platform.
Jaco.
They might as well be.
A point of order,
But who recognized you, Comrade Dagmo? Who recognized you? We have our hands up here to.
I
want to-
recognized him. I said, Honourable
want to
Dagmore, I have not yet recognized you.
Rule
Speaker, my
69,
hand has
which
been
our
up for half
deputy
an
chief
hour.
whip
How do you
raised
recognize
before.
someone?
Rule 69,
Ndifuna ukuthi ihlazo le-EFF namhlanje, ihlazo. We do not need this kind of behavior in a parliament of the Republic of South Africa. And it's no wonder the EFF is losing support election by election. So I want to ask
What rule is
69
that?
and that
What
we have
rule
an
is that?
investigation into this conduct, which is bringing this house into a disgrace. That's all.
Honourable Dartmoor.
Nina.
Honourable Dartmoor, you are not assisting. Honourable members, I will indeed refer this matter to the Speaker for referral to the powers and privileges. For every member who was in contempt of the rules of this House, the procedures of this House, and the respect for the presiding officer. I will also refer it in terms of Rule 69, which is very specific and which the Powers and Privileges Act refers to. That will be done. We will now proceed. Honourable Tandu,
Thank you.
we are now proceeding
Thank-
because you are now interfering with other members' right to ask questions.
So thank you, Deputy Chair. I think I'd like to first begin by expressing my appreciation for your ability to self-correct, because it means you have considered now that the presence of those strangers here was wrong. The challenge now that exists is that you removed members of parliament in defense of those strangers. Can we allow members of parliament who were raising the issue that you have now conceded to return to the House so we can return to the normal business of this?
Honourable-
They were removed in defense of those people. Those
Honourable
people
Member-
have gone.
Honourable
Yeah,
Member,
members of parliament return to the
no,
House.
I removed them because they showed contempt for the presiding officer. That is why they were removed. We will now proceed. Question 11 has been asked by the Honourable Modise Empire.
Speaker.
The question pertains to the President remarks during the official visit of the President of Ukraine to the Republic, wherein he expressed deep concerns about the continuing conflict in Ukraine that has led to the loss of civilian lives, damage to critical infrastructure, and the deteriorating humanitarian situation. And what practical diplomatic interventions will the Republic initiate within the multilateral fora to ensure the end of the conflict in Ukraine, and what engagements have been initiated with the Russian Federation to end the conflict? At last, Honourable President.
Speaker. Speaker, I want to proceed, Speaker, but you said you're gonna get back to us on who are those people protecting. That's all we're looking for, and then we can proceed.
My apologies, Mr. President. The one, as I said, was a protector of the President and one of the Deputy President. And now, may we proceed? Honourable President. Honourable President, no, Honourable Mente. Honourable Mente, you are now disrespecting the presiding officer. You are, and I'm now going to caution you because we are now proceeding with the business of this House. Honourable Member, I have just ruled on that I locked them out because of contempt for the chairperson or the presiding officer. Honourable Mente, we will now proceed. Honourable President.
Point of order, Deputy Speaker.
Honourable members, I have instructed that
Deputy
members
Speaker,
on the platform be muted.
Deputy Speaker.
Honourable members, I'm not entertaining any points of order. Honourable Mente, you are now in direct contempt of my ruling, and I will ask you to leave the House.
No, no.
Honourable
You must
Mente.
bring back the members you locked out because they asked who are those gentlemen.
Mente, I
You
have
just
now
threw those gentlemen out,
Honourable Mente.
confirming that we were correct. Yet our
Honourable Mente, I've said I have removed them because of contempt for the presiding officer. It is in the rules. Honourable Mente, please leave the chamber. Sergeant at Arms, please assist Honourable Mente. Honourable Member, what is your point? And may I also refer you to the rule that says that you may not intervene while a member is being removed from the House? I also want to caution the members of the ANC, please no comments. We will now proceed. The President, Honorable Makula.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, South Africa remains steadfast in its commitment of resolving the Russia-Ukraine conflict. We continue to advocate for the inclusion of both parties in initiatives that are aimed at ending the hostilities. We have, as South Africa, consistently urged the parties to engage in negotiations in a spirit of cooperation and compromise. Our government has emphasized the importance of achieving an unconditional ceasefire accompanied by goodwill actions that would be seen as confidence-building measures to facilitate de-escalation.
House Chair.
Honorable President, my apologies. What is your point of order, member?
The first problem, Chair, here is that I raised my hand and then you said to me, I cannot interrupt whilst a member is being removed from the House. I then said to you, no problem, I'm going to wait. And you said you're going to come back to me. And you did not come back to me. And you went back to the President. And that's what you've been doing with other members as well, even on the virtual platform, where you note members, you don't go back to them, and then you say they're in contempt of you, of the House, or anything.
Honorable Lonzi, I did not recognize you just before
You did.
President. In fact, I replied to you and you were quite satisfied with the reply that I gave you. Honorable Lonzi,
House Chair.
we will now proceed.
House Chair, can you provide us with the list of these members that you are saying were in contempt? Because we have the strong view that your definition of contempt, based on this simple explanation I just gave you, is extremely flawed. And you are very impatient, Chair. I don't know why you are so impatient.
Honorable Lonzi,
You are
that is now
extremely
not a
impatient.
point of order.
Can you please?
Honorable Lonzi,
us
if
a
you do
list?
know the rules and if
Can
you
you
do
please
know
give
the
us a
powers and
list of-
privileges procedure, you will know that a list of names will be attached
Attached to where?
to the charge. So Honorable Lonzi, that is not a point of order. It is dismissed and we will now proceed. Honorable
Point of
Pan-
order, Chair. You say they're going to be attached to a list of charges. Which charges? Because you still have to refer the matter to the powers and
Yes,
privileges.
it will be in that letter to the Speaker.
But they are the ones who formulate charges. You are predetermining the process. Which charges are their names going to be attached to?
Honorable
The
Tandu,
charges must be developed by the powers and
Member,
privileges.
that is not a
Committee.
point of order
When
for
you
now.
say attached to the charges, you
Honorable Member, you are now also absolutely disrespecting the presiding officer. There will be a list of names attached to the letter to the Speaker, which might lead to charges. Honorable Lakude.
So you should have phrased it.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I think we need to be protected as members of parliament. There are members who pose questions to the president and they are waiting for him to respond. I want you, Honorable Speaker, to invoke Rule 69, which says, I'm reading the sub-rule now. Members may not repeatedly undermining the authority of the presiding officer or repeatedly refusing to obey rulings of the presiding officer or repeatedly disrespecting and interrupting the presiding officer while the letter is addressing the House. With this sub-rule, Honorable Deputy Speaker, this is what we have been subjected to as members of parliament by the two honorable members of the EFF. So we want to be protected. And what I want to put on the table right now is that now is 16:42. 5 o'clock, the president will not go over 5 o'clock to keep on responding to questions. We cut off. Question time is 3 hours. That's all, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Lakudi. That is what I said a bit earlier, that you are now infringing on the rights of other members who have submitted questions. And you are quite correct, as I've also said, this matter will be referred in terms of Rule 69 to the Speaker for referral to the Powers and Privileges Committee. Honourable President, please proceed.
As you wish, Honorable Deputy Speaker. As I was saying, we continue to call for an unconditional ceasefire, which will help to facilitate the de-escalation of the conflict that is taking place and initiate a genuine process of dialogue and negotiation amongst the parties. And South Africa calls on the parties to adhere to the principles of the United Nations Charter, including the peaceful resolution of conflicts and respect for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of states. We are deeply concerned about the impact of the Russia-Ukraine conflict across many parts of the world. We support initiatives that ensure that food and energy security for African countries is secured or implemented or embarked upon, as well as the safeguard of global supply chains. South Africa will continue to actively participate in all initiatives, including the Africa Peace Initiative that took us to Ukraine and Russia, and also the joint group of Friends of Peace to support a negotiated and peaceful settlement of the conflict. Engagements with the presidents of Russia and Ukraine have occurred and continue to occur on several occasions, both in person as well as via telephone. In-person meetings with President Putin include the Africa Peace Initiative meeting, which took place in the 16th of June in 2023 in St. Petersburg, and a bilateral meeting on the margins of the BRICS summit in Kazan in Russia on the
House Chair.
22nd of October.
Just a quick one, Chair. And it's for your
There
assistance.
isn't something like a quick one, Honourable Lonzi. I did not recognize you.
Chair,
What is your point of order?
no, it's in a very constructive manner. Can you keep quiet?
Honourable Lonzi.
Chair, the people on the virtual platform are muted, all of them. So can they be unmuted so that they can be able to participate in this session? I'm not disrupting.
See, they
All of them are muted,
Honourable Lonzi, if
including those who are not removed.
Honourable Member, if they are on the platform, they can still raise their hands. They don't have to switch on their microphones. Honourable Beasley.
Thanks, Deputy Speaker. The people deserve better than this Parliament, Speaker. There are so many people unemployed at the moment looking at this people and they're saying this is absolutely chaos. It's chaos. People deserve better. People deserve to hear from the President. He's got valid questions to ask. 500 people are losing their jobs every hour. It is unacceptable.
Thank you, Honourable Beasley. The point is taken. Honourable Member, I'm not going to take any further points.
Deputy Speaker, when he refers to these people, who is he talking about?
Honourable.
He said these people. Who are these people he's talking about?
Honourable Skosana, what is your point?
Yeah, Honourable Speaker, my point is that you have made a ruling several times on this matter. Can you please allow the President to respond and don't entertain any hand that will be raised, either in the House or in the visual platform? Clear that members are raising frivolous points of order just to interrupt the President.
Honourable Skosana, no, I know, and I've ruled on that. But there are members who show absolute contempt for the presiding officer, and that is why they will be referred to the Speaker for referral to the Powers and Privileges Committee. Honourable Paulson, is that if that is not a real point of order, I will also ask you to leave the chamber.
Speaker, with all due respect, Speaker, a point of clarity. The member said these people. I know what these people mean. I know how racists like to refer to black people as these people. So I want you to clarify what these people.
Honourable Paulson, sounds all right. Honourable Paulson, you speak through the Speaker, And I will have to consult the Hansard. So you're not going to go into a discussion or argument with a specific member. It is a point of order that is raised to the presiding officer, and I will then deal with it. Honorable President, please proceed. Honorable Kaula.
Yeah. Oh.
Honorable
Oh, yeah.
Honorable member.
Funny now.
Honorable member. Order. Mr. President.
I funny now, yes, my count.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I was referring to the various engagements we've had with the leaders of the two countries through face-to-face meetings, telephone conversations, and engaging.
Point of order, House Chair.
Honorable Lonzi, I am now cautioning you. You are now raising frivolous points of order, and I'm going to ask you to leave the chamber because you are interrupting proceedings.
No,
Please
no,
leave the
Speaker.
chamber, Honorable Lonzi. You are now interrupting business of this house. Please leave the chamber.
You don't know what I want to say.
I am now.
It's on a very separate matter from this one.
You are interrupting proceedings now. You are frivolous. Honorable Paulson, I will also rule that you leave the
It's on
chamber.
a separate matter.
Honorable Lonzi, I have now ruled.
What are you ruling on? Because you don't know what I have to
I
say.
have now ruled because I said no points of order. We allow the president to continue with his question.
You can't rule that there will
Honorable
never be
Lonzi,
point
please
of
leave the
order.
chamber.
Which rule are you referring to, Chair? Because I'm saying I'm raising a separate point.
Please assist the Honorable Lonzi.
I'm not
to
repeating this point. I'm raising a separate point.
Sergeant at Arms, please remove.
I'm raising
the-
a separate point here, Chair.
I have ruled no points of order while the president is now
I'm
completing.
very
his answer.
impatient today. I don't know why.
Honorable Lonzi. Honorable Paulson, you should know the rules that you may not interrupt while a member is being removed from the chamber. I am now ruling that there will be no points of order. We have exactly 10 minutes left. You are now seriously disrupting procedures. Honorable Paulson, I have now ruled. Honorable Paulson, I have now ruled. Honorable President, please proceed with the answer.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I was saying that we've continued to have engagements with the leaders of the two countries, Russia and Ukraine. And I must say that the engagements have been meaningful, and we've had deep conversations about the whole process of peacemaking. And we remain hopeful that the conflict will be settled and that there will be an unconditional ceasefire and that peace will return to that part of the world. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Thank you.
First supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Modise Empire.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Mr. President, I nearly missed an opportunity to ask you this supplementary question. Recognizing the Republic's long-standing commitment to non-alignment and peaceful conflict resolution, and given the complex geopolitical dynamics surrounding the Russia and Ukraine conflict, could you share with the House how South Africa is positioning its diplomatic efforts to not only encourage dialogue between the two parties, but also to strengthen global trust in multilateralism, and what specific contributions or outcomes our nation hopes to advance through these engagements?
The Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. South Africa continues to implement its diplomatic or foreign policy, which seeks to ensure that we lay more emphasis on multilateralism and to strengthen the multilateral system where we seek to see various nations participating together and working together to advance peace around the world and to promote human rights. We have been very strong in insisting that
Deputy Speaker, ngenhlonipho, with your respect, please, my Deputy Speaker of Parliament.
I first have to recognize you,
Yeah.
Honorable Mkaula.
Yes.
And what is your point of order?
Ngiyabonga yezwa. Bengisho ukuthi akethu upresident ulale athi kuma kancane nje sasitshela ngezase Ukraine. Ngabe uthini ngalezi ngane zase Dalton ezu3 ezibulawe amabhunu egayisa ngemoto ethi
Honorable Mkaula. Your point, Honorable Mkaula, I'm now cautioning you. I know you only have 5 minutes to wait before you go home, but I could make it a bit earlier. We will now proceed. Honorable President.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, I must
House
tell
Chair.
you,
Deputy Speaker.
I feel
Deputy Speaker.
I feel abused.
Deputy Speaker.
I really do feel
Honorable
abused.
members.
Can you please
You didn't feel like that when Trump was abusing you in the White House. Why did
Honorable
you feel abused in the White House?
For-
You're abused by your own colleagues in South Africa.
I'm here to
You're
answer
abused in
questions.
the White House. You come to call abuse here. It's wrong what you're doing, President.
Honorable President.
You were abused with
apologies, but for
disinformation in the White House. You accuse us of
disrupt
abuse.
Proceedings this afternoon.
No,
Honorable
no,
Matiasi, you have just
no.
come in. Are you the enforcement? You have just arrived and now you have a point of order. What is your point of order?
Honorable Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker,
Please raise your point of order.
a point of order is you forced me off the virtual line and you compelled me to get into the house physically. That's the embarrassment you have brought to this house. There's a number of members who are allowed to be physically in the house. But because of your own decision to
Honorable
Well,
member, that is not relevant to the
it's relevant
President's
to the discussions.
answer
because-
right now. Honorable Matiase. Honorable Matiase. The question about who embarrasses who is an open question. We will now proceed. I will not recognize your point of order. It is not a point of order. It is a matter of discussion. And you can write to the Speaker about this. Orders have already been given, rulings have been given. I will not entertain any further points of order from you, either from you, Honorable Paulson. We have exactly 4 minutes left. Honorable President. Honorable Makula, please leave the chamber. Honorable Makula, please leave the chamber. Sergeant at Arms, please assist the Honorable Makula to leave the chamber.
Deputy Speaker.
Honorable President, we have 3 minutes left. So it will at most then just be this answer of you, and then we will have to adjourn the House for the day. But I will refer this to the Speaker for further action. Honorable Makula, we will refer this for further action because these questions have asked and members have a right to hear the President replying to these
We
questions.
can give the
The
president
EFF
now 1 hour.
You have now, in terms of the Powers and Privileges Act, as well as the rules, prevented members from doing their work. That is a serious legal infringement, which we will address. Honorable President, if you would like to conclude, that would be most appreciated. Thank you. Honorable Makula, please leave the House. Honorable Mkola, leave the House.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. As I was saying, we continue to pursue our policy of strengthening the multilateral system and ensuring that through that multilateral system, we're able to resolve conflicts around the world peacefully and through negotiation and peace-seeking processes, where we work together with various bodies of the United Nations and regional bodies around the world, on our continent and elsewhere. And it is to this end that we, as a number of African countries, pursued the process of installing peace.
Honorable Makula, Sergeant at Arms, please assist Honorable Mkola out. Honorable Mkola, you are now in serious contempt. Honorable Mkola. Honorable Mkola, please leave the chamber. My apologies, Honorable President. Please proceed.
In pursuit of executing our policies, we interact with key role players, either involved in conflicts or in various regional bodies around the world. And it is this that continues to inform our foreign policy, where we seek to continuously work in accordance with the United Nations Charter and indeed with the various charters of various continents in our world as we make interventions. So with that, Honorable Deputy Speaker, I'm able to confirm that South Africa pursues its peace-building processes on an ongoing basis and seeks to work with various regional bodies, particularly with the United Nations. And thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Honorable members, in terms of Rule 144, the total time allowed for replies has expired. I want to thank the Honorable President for his patience in trying to answer important questions that members have put. I also want to apologize to the members who have posed questions and who have now been denied answers. The outstanding questions or replies will be published and the Speaker will rule on what will happen next. I thank you, Honorable President.
History will note that this House descended in chaos because. Note that.
Honorable members,
not
please
escape
stand for the
from that
presiding officer and the mace to leave the chamber. The House is now adjourned.